Daycare provider Loretta Naraki is suing her former client, medical billing manager Stephanie Scanlon, for making false charges with social services.
Order. All rise. This is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Naraki versus Scanlon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Naraki, you are a daycare provider.
Yes.
And you were hired by the defendant to take care of one child, a boy.
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she removed her child from your daycare facility, under the circumstances described here, which you're going to explain to me in a minute, she filed a complaint against you with the state, causing you to lose business, and that the complaint that she filed was really slanderous and not true.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Scanlon says she had every reason to file the complaint that she did, that she has witnessed things in your daycare center that were inappropriate, and that the way you acted with regard to her child was also inappropriate, right? When did you enroll your child in her facility?
I enrolled my son Robert the beginning of June of 2002.
For how many days a week?
3 days.
And how old is Robert?
He was at the time 20 months.
How did you find the plaintiff?
I called up a Suffolk County Child Care Council, and they referred me a bunch of names on a list, which I checked out a few names. Loretta's name was on the list, and I went to her house and interviewed her, and that's how I found her.
She takes care of children in her house?
Yes.
And you're a working mom?
Yes.
When did the problem occur?
Actually, I never had a problem with Lori, the way she ran her daycare. My son went right into her arms when I dropped him off, so I knew that he liked her. The only problem I had was when it came to money, and the problem started the week of her birthday. Her birthday was the day before the 4th of July, where she did inform me that she was taking that day off, that I would have to find somebody to watch my son. And when I dropped him off that day, I paid her for 2 out of the 3 days of the week.
You mean the day that Robert would actually be there?
I paid her for it.
And July 4th, which
Yes.
was a holiday.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Why?
It's in my contracts.
Let me see. I want to see the signed one that she signed.
She never gave it to me.
I never
then you don't
signed
have it.
No.
Then you don't have it. So you don't
No.
have a contract with her.
No. She,
Shh, just a second. Second of all, paragraph 7 of this is inconsistent. And I'm going to tell you why it's inconsistent, because it says the provider, that's you, will be paid for the following holidays. And you have Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and the day after, Christmas Day and the day after, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But you also have July 3rd and 4th. In what almanac is July 3rd a holiday?
it's not. It's the holidays I take.
Well, you know, you'd expect to be paid for those days.
Yes. When we sit down, when she came and I interviewed her, we go over this step by step.
I don't have a contract that she signed.
She
And I
made
wanna tell
them
you-
for me.
And I
She-
want to tell you
she
something.
printed them up on her
That's the
computer.
dumbest thing that I ever heard, that your
Okay. birthday
birthday is a paid holiday for a part-time worker. I mean, I have a son who thinks that his birthday is a national holiday. But, you know, I mean, we sort of joke about it. All right, so what happened when you left? You were very nice. You paid her $100 for 2 days, and your son was only going to be there 1 day that week, so that was
Yes.
very nice of you. She called and she said, you didn't give me enough money.
She called me screaming. She was very upset. She told me that none of her other parents give her problems like I do. Who am I to pay her when I feel like paying her? And she told me to come and pick my son up now.
So what did you do?
I called my mother because I couldn't leave my job at the time, and my mom immediately went over to pick up Robert.
That's not true at all.
Well, tell me what happened. You called her.
And I told her, before this, we've already had a discussion about money.
Why?
I get
What kind of
paid
a discussion?
A week before this, my husband was in the house, and she told me, Lori, do I have to pay you for your vacation in August? I said, yes, I get paid for my vacation in August. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've never had a parent argue with me over my vacation times. Everybody gets a vacation. I'm entitled to a vacation.
Not you.
Well,
You're not. You don't run a daycare service. You don't run a business. You take care of children in your home.
Yes, I do.
There's a difference. If you had a nursery school and you wanted to go away on vacation and you had other people working for you who were going to cover these children for the 2 or 3 days a week that they were there, that's fine. That's not what you do. When you're not taking care of them in your house and they're still working, they have to hire somebody else to take care of their children, so they're paying twice.
This is how
This is
how
what
I've
kind
run
of
it.
this is?
This is how I've run it for 13 years. I've never had a problem.
Well,
I've
now
never
you had a
problem.
problem.
Argue with me. I'm not suing her for the contract.
Now you have a problem.
Yes, I do. A big problem.
Because instead of waiting for her to come home to pick up her child that day, you were angry enough to call her at work.
Yes.
Now, if I were a parent and I had a 20-month-old baby that you were watching that day, and you couldn't control yourself sufficiently to wait until she came home to pick up her child and say, look, let's sit down and talk about this, but was so angry that you called her at work, even if you didn't tell her to come and pick up her baby, I would have come and pick up my baby. I would have been there in a second. I would have said, I'm not leaving my baby with her. She's mad at me. I don't know if she's going to take this out on my baby or not. She can't control herself sufficiently to wait till I get home. I'm not taking a chance. Now, we don't have a contract. She gave you an extra day's pay that you weren't entitled to for July 4th, but she was a nice person. You wanted your birthday, too. As far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't get it. Is that what you called the state about?
No, what I called the state about was how she reacted when my mother came to pick up my son and asked for my $100 back because she did not supply the service to me that I paid her for. I paid her at the beginning of the week to watch him for that day and for the holiday. So when my mother went to pick him up, she was standing at the door with him in her arms and the diaper bag, and my mother said to her, my daughter would like her $100 back.
Is that what she said to you?
Absolutely not.
What
First
happened?
of all,
Well, your mother's not here, so
Right.
she can tell me.
Okay, first of all, she came up to my house fuming, banged on my door like she was going to knock it down. Walked into my house, told me to give her grandson. I said, he's all packed up, he's ready to go. I was just about to say, you know what, tell Stephanie to call me when she gets home. This is getting out of hand, this is ridiculous. For $50, this is ridiculous. When she called me an effing, she said, give me my daughter's $100, cursing. I said, let me tell you something, I have kids here, my daughters are here. She goes, yeah, I have cops in my family, you better keep an eye on those girls, meaning my daughters. Now I got frantic. I said, you know what, you need to leave. She goes, I'll leave when I'm ready to leave. I said, you need to leave now. I picked up the phone to call the police. She walked out of the house. Next thing I know, the state is at my door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
From what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare provider Loretta Naraki says former client Stephanie Scanlon filed false charges with social services. Stephanie says she only told the truth.
Go ahead.
She didn't say about the money. She didn't say any of that. She said I was mistreating the kids.
Let me see the report.
She said I had people watch.
Just a second. Ms. Scanlon, did you report the plaintiff for anything other than what happened with your mother?
Absolutely.
Well, then what did you say?
Well, what I said was that in the few weeks that Robert was in her care, there were more than 2 children under the age of 2. In New York State, including your own child, you're not allowed to watch more than 2 at a time. So she had her child, Jalen, who was under 2, another child, who I won't say his name, and then my son Robert made the 3rd. So she was breaking the law right there.
Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. I watched 2 children under the age of 2. My daughter turned 2 in June.
When did you see more than 2
I saw
children?
Max and Tony 3 days a week.
Who's Max?
The 2 children, the brothers.
That's good. I didn't watch a child named Max.
Okay.
At all.
Well, I assume that they investigated that.
Yes,
Go ahead. What
they
else
did.
did you tell them?
And the second thing that I spoke to them about was there were a few times when I picked up my son or when I tried to call there that Lori wasn't there. The first time being on Robert's 2nd day, I called to see how he was adjusting, and Lori's husband answered the phone. And I said, oh, well, where's Lori? And he said, oh, she just dropped Nicholas off at school. I had called another time when her sister was in town, and her niece, Sammy, answered the phone, and Sammy said, oh, she's at the diner with her sister.
Okay, and I have a letter that Sam is allowed to work when I am not in the household. She's been fingerprinted, and she is also one of my workers. So she is allowed to be in the house anytime I am not in the house.
Yeah, but I pay you. I don't pay Sam.
It says in the contracts. If
Well,
I'm
I
not
don't
there.
contract.
Well,
Nothing.
you made them. You made the contracts to me.
Shh, don't talk to each other.
Everybody in my household over the age of 18 has been fingerprinted and is allowed to be in the household with the children when I am not there.
Okay. Go ahead. What else?
Well, that was it. Those were the two things that I called.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
Well,
now,
that
I
doesn't
couldn't
say
get
that
this
here.
report. I know, I couldn't get this report because I had to write to Albany for it. They called Stephanie and asked her if she would release it, and she said no.
All I can tell you is I assume that all of these things were marked unfounded.
Unfounded.
Okay.
But when you call the child care council and ask for a referral, they will give you my name, and in this letter I'll show you that they have to, by state law, tell you that a file was claimed against, filed against me. I normally, in the month of June and in the month of August and September, interview 7 to 10 people for new slots opening up. I did not get one phone call over the summer. So my daycare is going to go down the drain because the way life is now, I would not leave my daughters with somebody, even if it was unfounded, I would not leave my daughters with somebody where a claim was filed against them. So I had to enroll myself, now taking away more time from my children, in school to take up another occupation, because now I have to go to work.
Now, if I'm leaving the children with you, my baby with you, unless I am on actual notice that they will be taken care of by someone else.
Which I tell them every morning when they drop the child off.
Just a second. No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, I have
Because
letters from all my other
this
parents.
This is clearly somebody who would have said, well, I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet
She did.
Samantha.
She did.
I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet Samantha. If they're going to be taking care of my child, did she tell you that other people would be taking care of your child?
Not taken care of. She did say that she had a helper that came in to help her, and every once in a while she would step out.
I did. And I introduced
Every
her to my
once in a
husband
while.
and Samantha.
But I have a list of 4 or 5 times in the 3-week period where she wasn't there, and that just wasn't acceptable to me.
Then you shouldn't have dropped him off that Tuesday morning. But you did because you continually told me how happy he was in my house.
And he was.
All right.
Now, that's what you said. Then my question to you is, if that's true, and that's what you said to me initially, Miss Scanlon, that your son went to her and but for this money problem that you seem to have with her, and I'm not saying that's without justification, I think that you were justified, but for that problem, you said your son was happy. So why did you register these complaints against her when your real problem was with money?
Well, when my mother went to go pick up my son, from what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic. She did not push my mother down the stairs, and I never said that. She pushed my mother, and my mother lost her balance. But you don't shove a woman, an elderly woman, who has a child in her hands.
Well, I don't know if that happened. Is that what your mother told you?
That's what my mother told me.
Fine. So let's say you reported that.
Right. She
Why the other things?
She was acting crazy. She ran out to my mother's truck because my son had...
That had to do with your mother.
Okay.
Forget that.
All right.
The complaints that you made had to do with inadequate care.
Right.
So why did you throw that in as frosting on the cake?
Well, again, because of what my mother told me, how she acted. And
you didn't say that. You said, you talked about the fact that she wasn't there, that there was somebody by the name of Samantha who was there. Did you say anything about that there weren't proper railings or barriers from one floor to another?
No.
You talked about alternative providers, that you talked about. And you talked about the number of children she had that she was watching?
Yeah.
Okay, but none of that seemed to be a problem to you before the incident with your mother. So forget that, the incident with your mother. You talked about other things, and what I'm asking you is, why?
I didn't think she was fit to watch my child at that point.
Because?
She called for $50. She called me up.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right.
There's no issue about that. I'm just asking you why you threw in these other things.
To be malicious.
I was upset.
But you ruined my life.
Just a second. Just a second. You were upset. That's honest. So that was frosting on the cake because you were upset. She had a perfect right to call up to complain about the incident with the money. In all probability, there would have been a complaint generated as a result of that incident anyway. But there would not have been any of this other stuff that I believe you did maliciously. And I think that that's wrong. Now, I don't know whether you could say because you did that, she lost business, because certainly I have inadequate proof of that. But certainly, there has to be a consequence, Ms. Scanlon, of attacking someone in their business or profession when you get agitated. And that's what happened. You were angry. And I am not faulting you at all with calling and reporting. Now, I don't know.
I also have a check here she wrote me. I lost it. I found it while going through everything, and I was afraid to cash it because I was afraid she'd have me arrested or something.
Let me see.
She was off the walls running crazy as it was. I didn't want to add insult to injury.
Well, she insisted on cash.
Yes, that's what it says in her.
And the first week of his care, I gave him a check. And she said, no, 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 I want cash.
Yes.
So I said, okay, fine. You know what? I'll bring you cash. And I put a stop payment on the check. Yeah, that week was paid for.
I'm sure it was paid for.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was paid for. Because if it wasn't paid for, and this was in June,
Right.
she would have been on your back. That's what happened.
No, it's not what happened.
Oh, you want to tell me your version of what happened?
Yes, I lost the check. I lost it. Was I going to, tell her, write me another check? I lost the check. It was only the middle of June. She did all this July 3rd, July 2nd.
Did she pay you by cash every other time?
Every other time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I figured I'd find the check and cash it. All right. I don't take care of other people's children. I love what I do. I do it for a reason, to support my kids. If I get no other business coming in, the children I have now will be going to kindergarten in September. So I've just lost an entire business. I worked 13 years to get the reputation. I have letters from every single parent I worked for.
Then those parents should be able to
refer me.
Refer people to you.
Absolutely.
And Ms. Scanlon, I believe that Ms. Scanlon has to understand that she has to be much more careful. She has an absolute right to, if she has pure motives, and her motives were pure, to call up and say, she reacted very, very badly when we had a dispute over money. She reacted unprofessionally. I want to report her unprofessional behavior. But I believe that with regard to the other complaints that she made about you, they were made with a malicious intent. And for that, I am awarding you $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
By the way, if you ever decide to take care of kids again, don't ask for your birthday as a paid holiday. It's ridiculous.
Now, this is case number 242 on the calendar, the matter of Powell versus Jefferson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Powell, according to your complaint, you believe that the defendant had you falsely arrested on vandalism charges that came about as a result of your trying to save a parking space for your husband. Is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Jefferson says that you actually hit his car with your fists as he was trying to back into a parking space that you were saving. Is that right, Mr. Jefferson?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Powell, what time did this incident start?
7 o'clock.
In the evening?
In the evening, on February 9th.
Where were you?
We were in Old Town Sacramento.
Who was with you?
My 2 children, my husband, and my girlfriend, Connie.
Where had you been?
We were across the street having a celebration for my husband's birthday.
Where?
El Terranza Mexican restaurant.
And I gather from your complaint that you have a van because you have another daughter who is 15 and who is in a wheelchair.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that child was also with you on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
According to you, your husband went to get the van. There was a parking space across the street. You were saving it. You were saving it by standing in the parking space with your 9-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And he pulls up.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of vehicle was he driving?
A black car. I didn't see him until after he hit me.
Now, what happened, sir, when you got to that parking space?
I was on my way to work, pulled in the park, where I always do normally. As I started to park in the parking spot, she stepped off of the sidewalk saying that she was saving the spot because it was a handicapped parking spot. And she kept pointing to the sign stating that I couldn't park there because it was a handicapped parking spot. I tried to explain to her that the sign isn't the handicapped parking sign. It's stating that there's handicapped parking down K Street. The arrow points down that street. At that time, I started to walk to my car because she was belligerent.
Have a picture of that sign?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I do too.
I'd like to see it.
These three right here clearly shows the sign.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Sir, is this in front of the bar?
Yes.
If I saw that sign, I would think that this is where handicapped people were supposed
And
to park.
that's why I had a picture taken of that, because it's showing the red zone
Yeah.
and not a blue handicap parking.
I don't care. What I'm telling you is, if I saw this sign, handicap parking, with this arrow pointing in this direction, not in the direction, and not only that, there is a ramp here,
Right.
right? I would assume that this is the place that people with handicap parking are supposed to park. That's what I would assume.
Okay.
Now, the fact that you work in this bar and you're accustomed to parking there and the cops let it slide, that may be. But if, as a civilian, they don't put handicap parking signs around and give you directions, handicap parking, go 2 blocks down.
However, what she stated is incorrect also. Her child in the wheelchair wasn't on the sidewalk. She was in the bar that we work at.
Just a minute. How did you know that when you were outside?
Because,
I
Your Honor,
didn't.
he was
Quiet.
in the bar.
I
Quiet.
didn't. I didn't know that.
You didn't.
No.
You didn't.
No.
All you know is she had a child with her.
I didn't even see a child. All I saw were people on the sidewalk. When I went to park, there was no one standing in the parking space. I started to back in. She stepped off the sidewalk at that time. If I'm not mistaken, it states in the police report also.
I want to tell you something. How often do the police come into the bar where you work?
Well, they
Answer
patrol.
my question.
They
All the time?
patrol down there,
All the
yes.
time. You know them?
I don't know them by name.
Do they know you?
They know I work at the bar.
Right. I think that this thing was all handled very, very poorly. It's irritating if somebody comes and holds a spot. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know you feel as if you had a legitimate reason for doing that because you had a child who had to be loaded into a wheelchair.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, he didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
But, Your Honor,
Just a
Also,
minute.
I mean, this was during Mardi Gras, so it wasn't like it was just their little group on the sidewalk. There was hundreds of thousands of people in Old Sacramento at the time. So that's what I'm saying. Her standing there wasn't out of the ordinary. As the incident progressed, I got in the car, she went back up on the sidewalk. That's when I started to back to park again. She jumped back down. That's when she punched my car. I got out then, asked Shannon, well, she came out after the incident started. I asked her to go call the police. That's when the
Did you have
police-
any discussions with Shannon?
No. She had just
When
came
did you
out
find
of the
out
bar.
that her daughter, who was in a wheelchair, was in the place where you were working?
That was all after the fact.
Your Honor,
Yes.
he said that he never saw, or he was on his way to work, and he saw the parking space available. He's lying because when I was in the bar getting my soda for my handicapped child because she has diabetes, he was standing at the bar, and he had received some money. If this is the female bartender that works there, he received a wad of money from her, and he had a drink.
So what you're telling me is that he had been in the bar earlier.
Right before all this took place, Mr. Pate came in to the bar where I was standing and said, "There's this parking space out in front. Would you please go stand there so we can leave and load Ciara up?" And I said yes. I went out and stood in the parking space. I did not know who this man was until he got out of the car, and then I realized that it was the same man that was standing right here on the corner of the bar and had a wad of money handed to him by a female bartender.
Is that your job? You're the female bartender?
Yes, I am.
Did you give him some money that day?
No, I did not. Can I add?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was at the bar, bartending, and they had come in. The daughter was the daughter was in the wheelchair by the door. They were drinking. He was drinking shots of Jack Daniels.
Who was?
the gentleman over there.
Uh-huh.
I actually had cut him off, and she had already been
Now, this
done
was not the
drinking.
Mexican restaurant
No,
that we're
this is not.
talking about?
It's La Terraza.
What
It's
happened to
across
the...
the street.
If you had just finished dinner at the Mexican restaurant, which is what you told me a moment ago,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
from the Mexican restaurant you were leaving, that's the impression that I got. Then I couldn't understand how you wound up getting a soft drink for your daughter, who was in a wheelchair, across the street at the bar. That doesn't sound right. It would seem to me if you were to put your hand down. You don't want to get up here. Trust me. I got a nose that's always right on target.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had cut him off because he had had too many shots already.
Oh, I believe that. I don't know if he's been drinking today.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I don't know if he's been drinking
That's
today.
not true, Your Honor.
I'm not sure.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Powell claims bouncer Willie Jefferson assaulted her over a parking space. Christina says she was just trying to help her handicapped daughter.
I believe her when she said he was doing shots at the bar. I want you to understand that.
Your Honor, there was an hour span when we left the Mexican restaurant.
Right.
We walked around with the girls.
But then you went to a bar, and he was having shots. Right.
It also states, this is her statement that she
Let me
made
see.
to the police.
Let me see the police report.
Saying that my husband had a shot and I was drunk.
And her husband also went to go pick up the van after I cut him off. So he went to go pick up the van to pick up the child, and I had cut him off because he had had too many shots already.
Oh, I believe that. I don't know if he's been drinking today.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I don't know if he's been drinking
That's
today.
not true, Your Honor.
I'm not sure. Well, you told the police we had been at the bar and we were getting ready to leave. My husband had had a shot and I was drunk.
Why would I say I'm drunk? I don't drink, Your Honor.
Well, it states right
Just a
there
minute.
you were in the bar.
Just a second.
Exactly. That's where I saw you. And that's how you knew that you were going to take that parking space away from me.
Don't speak to each other.
Sorry, Your Honor.
It wasn't your parking space. Don't you understand,
Absolutely
Mrs.
not, it
Powell?
wasn't.
It's not your parking space.
Exactly.
It's not your parking space unless you have a car there.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know whether you were drunk or not because this police report is suspect to me because it's been written over. And I'm not suggesting that you wrote it over. I'm suggesting that somebody changed it. Do you know what I'm talking about, sir? Do you know where I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Well, I'm going to show you.
You can.
Because
I
I've been looking at
received my
police
copy
reports
yesterday.
longer than you've been alive. I want you to look at both places where it says I was drunk, and you tell me whether it doesn't look as if something else was there before I was drunk.
This is my copy. Yeah,
Look to you like there was something there before?
yeah, like it's, instead of saying I, it said I'm.
It looks like there was something else before that you can't completely make out. Is that right, sir?
It's, yeah, there's a
Sure
I. It
does.
says I, and it says I'm drunk. That's what it looks like to me.
Can't
Instead
tell
of
because
saying
somebody
I was
changed
drunk.
it.
Like I
And
said,
I'm not
it's just-
suggesting you changed it,
Exactly, what?
but I'm suggesting that somebody changed it.
Okay.
In any event, I think that you both behaved badly that day. I certainly think you behaved irresponsibly. Sounds to me as if there was too much drinking going on in your family.
No.
Oh, yeah, I believe there was.
No.
Oh, I believe there was. I believe if he had one drink, and believe me, he had a lot more than one drink between the Mexican restaurant and the bar.
No, he
had
did
no
not.
business getting behind the wheel of a van to come and pick you
If
up.
that was so, then why did the police officers let him drive away?
I haven't a clue. But I know that you were behaving irresponsibly when you came out of the bar and stood, according to you, in a parking space and got into an altercation with him. You were behaving irresponsibly. If you have two children with you, you're supposed to do everything that you can do to avoid confrontation.
Absolutely.
You didn't do that. Neither did he.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
No, you didn't.
He hit me from behind. I mean, he hit me. I didn't even know he was there.
At that point, when you said that he hit you as he was backing up, you take your daughter out of harm's way. You don't put her back in harm's way for him to do it again. Only somebody that would do that is somebody who was irresponsible or drunk.
Your Honor, I thought he was leaving.
Oh,
I thought he
please.
got back in
Your
his car
complaint's
to
dismissed.
leave.
I'm not going to get anywhere with either one of you. You both handled the situation very poorly that day. And this court cannot resolve a situation that resulted in two people behaving very badly. You may have gotten the worst of it, but you both behaved irresponsibly. You as a parent with two children with you, and you driving a car that is capable of causing injury. Don't get into a confrontation with people over a parking space. You move on. You got it?
Your Honor, may I
That's all.
recover my
Period.
$2,500?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The whole thing was fabricated. She was at the bar, her husband, and the kids.
He was already drunk, driving, picking up the child.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barnett versus Jimenez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Eileen Barnett is suing her former roommate's boyfriend, 25-year-old electrician Adrian Jimenez, for crashing into her car and her home.
Miss Barnett, you know the defendant because somehow you live in the same house that his girlfriend lives in.
Yes, I rent a room to his girlfriend.
You're not going to have to say much because I really need the explanation from Mr. Jimenez. According to your complaint, your car is parked in front of the house. Mr. Jimenez was coming to visit his girlfriend. He pulled into the driveway, I guess, of the house and hit your car. Your car then proceeded to roll into the house, causing a substantial amount of damage to both your car and the house.
Yes, ma'am.
You're suing for both.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Jimenez acknowledges the fact that his car, according to him, tapped. Is that right, Mr. Jimenez?
That's correct.
Tapped your car, and as a result of that tap, it went into the house. He, however, says it is not his fault because you left your car in neutral and parked it in not a great spot. So therefore, she is responsible. Is that right, for her car going into the house? Now, I want you to be quiet, Mr. Jimenez, because I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You see that picture that's right in front of you?
Yes.
I want you to keep looking at it. I want you to stare at it, sir. Did it move?
Not yet, no.
How long do you think you can look at that picture until it moves?
Not long enough.
Now, let's say you take your finger and tap the picture. Just tap it a little bit. See if you can get it to... See how it moved?
It budged.
Just a second. You see how it moved?
Yes, I did.
All right. Her car may or may not have been parked in neutral. Her car may or may not have had the emergency brake on. That is not the reason the car moved. The reason the car moved is because you hit it. Do you understand? Like the picture moved, not because you were willing it to move, but because your finger touched it.
Okay, I even gave her money towards the payment, okay, for me to be able to fix it. I told her, my estimate, okay, for my friends, I can get it paid, work done for $100, give or take.
Yeah, it's just a minute. Go ahead. So?
Now, when I went to her and I gave her that money and I asked her for a receipt, she didn't. She told me she wasn't going to give me one. What more can I say?
Can I see the photographs of the damage, please, first?
Okay.
He gave you $100.
Right here is the photograph of the driveway where he veered off right before he hit the rose bushes. That would be right before the
Could
house.
I see a picture of the damage, please?
Okay, and right here is rose bush damage. Damage to the house. That is damage to the house. Mind you, the wood and the grate were not on there. They were put on there for fear of burglary afterwards because there was an open hole in my house.
Your Honor.
Due to the fact of my car, after being pushed by his car
Rose bushes.
into my house, took out the whole window. We had to remove the bay window.
Okay, now can I please see the cost of replacing the bay window?
Okay, this is the cost of the bay window alone without the labor. Okay, I'm having a relative install it, so...
Okay, shh.
Now, Your Honor, she was already having her house remodeled, okay?
When her car went into the house, did it go into the bay window?
Went right underneath it.
Did it break the window?
No, it did not.
It didn't.
And it didn't, and it already had the fence on it.
That is a lie, Your Honor.
Just, of course it is. You mean she just put this wood up in front of where the window was for no reason?
You know, I don't know why she put the wood there, okay? The railing was already there. The window didn't break, otherwise I would have seen glass.
That is another lie, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, if my truck hit her car with the force and momentum that she
now,
says...
can I please see the damage to the car?
This is
How
Can
come
I see a photograph of the car damage?
I do not have the photograph for the car damage because I was under the assumption that he was going to pay for it. So it was already fixed, and then he denied payment. He told me to go ahead and get an estimate, and I went and got it fixed. And he's saying he can go to pick apart and fix my car for $100 when there's clearly a lot more damage to the car than that.
I'm responsible for the back bumper.
The
front bumper hit the
front of the car, and the right rear bumper was hit by his car.
Yes. So it was damaged to both ends. And for $100, he smacked down the table. He said he could fix it and pick apart for that kind of
rear
damage.
bumper, which is what I'm responsible for.
No, you're not.
Why not? That's
because
what I did.
Hey.
That's what our homeowner's insurance is for.
Listen to me. Listen to me, sir. You're entitled to the damage you caused.
I was parked halfway on the driveway.
So what?
I mean,
It's my driveway.
How many
what?
people, okay, get out their car to go get the mail and leave the car running, okay, in neutral without the emergency brake on? I mean, Your Honor.
People that were going to go back and get in the car to drive up to their house afterwards.
Listen to me, sir.
And if you park on a slope, you turn your wheel.
Listen to me,
You don't
sir.
aim it to your house.
Why did you hit her car?
Why did I barely tapped it when I was trying to move around it?
He's so full of baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,417. Listen, you do something wrong, you pay for it. She doesn't have to say to you, you and one of your street mechanic friends can fix my car, and she doesn't have to leave her window boarded up. You caused this accident. You. Just like that thing didn't move until you moved it with your hand. Her car would not have moved unless you hit it.
Your Honor, she was already having
Period.
her house redone.
Period. So what? You just helped it along.
Hey, why didn't I
You
just
helped it
pay for
along.
it, you know?
That's all. Step in.
Yeah, this is case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Yankowski versus Schaefer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Yankowski, you rented a room from the defendant. It was a short-term arrangement. You weren't happy. He wasn't happy. You claim he owes you money. That money is from your security deposit, which he didn't return. And you also want a whole bunch of punitive damages. Because how much was your security deposit?
$450.
$450. But you're suing him for $2,000 because you say he aggravated you. He says that you're a troublemaker, that you used up your security deposit because you made a big mess. And he's counterclaiming for $1,600 because he says you owe him for rent, punitive damages. You caused him to lose a tenant, and you aggravated him. So he wants a whole bunch of money from you. Don't people know how to, if things don't work out, just to go their separate ways and say goodbye?
If they did, we wouldn't be in business.
When did you rent the room, Miss Yankowski?
I moved in on June 8th.
You found them through an ad in the paper, through...
Through a rental service. You pay money, they give you a listing.
How much was the security deposit?
$450.
Is that right so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the rent for the room?
The rent for the room was $450 plus utilities.
How long did you stay?
A month.
And you paid for the month that you were there?
Yes.
During that time, he gave you a 30-day notice to leave?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you keep her security deposit?
First of all, she caused some damages to my home.
Tell me.
After I gave her the 30 days notice, she was going around slamming cabinet doors that were just remodeled, and they bent.
The cabinet doors bent?
Yes.
What kind of substance did you remodel them with?
Wood.
And she bent the wood? Mr. Schaefer.
I can show you easier than I can tell you. Sure. And she also left water on the floor during her showers. Here's the cabinet door that she bent. And this is also, she was throwing away the silverware in the trash after I gave her notice.
Did you slam this door and cause this damage?
No, I didn't.
What makes you think she did that, sir?
I was in the room when she did it. I watched her do it.
Show me how she did that. Describe to me how she did that.
She was going under the sink. She took the door and slammed it.
Yeah?
That's what she did. And
No,
that's
that
what,
doesn't happen as a result of slamming a door. No. What else?
the damage to the floor and the wall in the bathroom.
Let's take a look at that. Danielle refused to wipe up water after her showers. I had to do it for her. Water damage on the floor and wall. Looks like you didn't take really good care of his property.
There was a towel on the floor in the bathroom that I used every time I took a shower. There was also another female living in the house, and every time
Another tenant?
Yes.
Was the other tenant also using this bathroom?
Yes, she was.
Didn't have a different bathroom?
No.
Okay. Now, what else are you suing for? And let's make the other stuff fast, because I have a low tolerance level for nonsense.
Well, the entire time I was there, he pretty much made my life a living hell.
That's a good reason to move.
Yeah, with sexual harassment and...
Like what?
Like, we were watching that movie, Monsters Ball with Halle Berry. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but in that movie, she's naked. And he made the comment, oh, well, that's what your body looks like naked. I was just like, okay, how would you know? And he's just like, well, I can kind of tell.
True.
We were sitting at dinner one night, and he mentioned how big my breasts were and what they look like naked. I was on the phone with a guy one night. When I got off the phone, he's just like, oh, who is that? The only reason he'd be calling you is if he had sex with you. Use a different word. He told me that the only reason any guy would ever talk to me is if he had a sexual interest in me. One night I had a guy come over. He was coming over, he was going to pick me up, and we were going to go out. The next morning he asked me, oh, so did you guys have sex? And it's just like little comments like that.
Did it bother you?
Oh, yeah.
Did he really irritate you?
Oh, yeah. And then
So you were planning on moving?
Yes.
Because he was acting like a jerk?
Yes.
He didn't touch you?
No.
Did he? He just made sexual innuendos, like a jerk?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you met jerks like that before?
Yes.
It's not the last one you're going to meet.
I know. I know.
If he said it, and I don't know, Mr. Schaefer, I don't know if he said it, but if he said it, it's a jerk. You were going to move. He gave you a 30-day notice before you gave him notice. Goodbye. You get your security deposit back. Go and be happy. Anything else you want?
Well, I mean...
Anything else you want?
No.
Perfect. Now, what do you want?
First of all, I want her to pay for the damages to the house.
She's not paying for the damages to the house, sir.
Okay.
You had more than one tenant, and there is no way that I can tell which one of the two girls who showered got water on the wall.
Okay.
Next.
She moved her brother into my home, into her bedroom, and I told her that she wasn't allowed to sublease.
So?
So she was having her brother live there, and he was going to my neighbors, telling them that I was and slandering me.
What difference does it make with regard to this lawsuit if her brother was saying something? What does that have to do with her?
Because she brought him into my home.
Did you ever hear the expression, I am not my brother's keeper? That's from a very old book. Very old. Next.
She went to my tenant and was telling her things.
Where's your tenant?
She moved out with her.
Were you there when she made remarks to your tenant about you?
Yes.
Oh, good. What did you hear her say about you?
That I was making sexual remarks to her, which I wasn't. The only sexual remark that was actually said was when she was walking down the hallway. One day I asked her what was going on, and she said she came out of her bedroom saying that she was masturbating feverishly.
Oh my God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I had no idea any of this was going on at all.
My mother was in tears. I was in tears.
I'm thinking my wife left me before I got married, but I don't know what's going on.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Yankowski says landlord Rick Schaefer owes for the return of her security deposit and for making inappropriate comments of a sexual nature.
Sir, I don't understand what you're suing her for.
Well, I lost a tenant because of her. She didn't know the tenant.
I have no idea whether you lost a tenant or not because if her tenant's not here. Even if it's true, the tenant wasn't happy, the tenant can leave. But you can't tell me the reason that the tenant moved because that's in somebody else's mind. I find that I cannot determine who caused the water splatter in the bathroom because you had more than one tenant using the bathroom. And her brother said things about you that were not nice. Is that right?
Yes.
So what do you want?
I didn't want her to bring anyone in the house in the first place.
So she did. So you evicted her, right?
Yes.
If you weren't unhappy with her, you wouldn't have given her a 30-day notice, right?
Right.
She was a good tenant and someone that you were satisfied with. Everything would have been cool, right?
Right.
So you did what you were supposed to do. Give her a 30-day notice and say, bye, return a security deposit, and you all go your separate ways. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. Your counterclaim is dismissed as nonsense. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was threatening me.
He figured that he wouldn't be able to sleep with me and, you know, decided that he would harass me.
Be aware of little girls.
Beware of creepy old men.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Clanton versus Raduazo, step forward, please.
Kristen Clanton and her husband Mark are suing antique limo business owner Frank Raduazo for causing them to be late for their own wedding and for ruining her dress.
Mrs. Clanton, you retained the defendant's limousine company to provide transportation for you and your husband for your wedding and claimed that because of problems that developed with the cars, you were late for your own wedding. Your dress got ruined because the cars broke down. All in all, it was a terrible day, and you want some compensation. He says he provided the best service that he could for you under the circumstances, and there were problems with the cars. The problems were really your fault because you insisted upon using the antique cars rather than regular cars. Is that right?
That's true.
Okay. How did you find this company?
I actually had a bridal fair. They had given me a flyer.
Can I see the flyer, please?
Sure can.
Because a lot of this has to do with the fact that you and your husband selected antique cars to use to take you to your wedding. The defendant says that because of weather conditions that existed over the week or so prior to the wedding, he had suggested to you that it would not be a good idea to use these antique cars, but he would send other cars, and you insisted on using the antique cars. That's what he said.
Yes.
All right. When did the Clantons contact you about using your antique cars?
On May 20th in the year 2001.
And when was the wedding scheduled?
June 15th, 2002.
And when they contacted you, they told you that they wanted to use the antique cars?
That's correct.
And told them what the cost was?
Correct.
Did you tell them anything else?
The discussion at that time was basically the address, what's on the contract.
Can I see the contract, please?
When we
originally... Just a minute. So it's clear that they specified a Rolls-Royce with leather seats.
Correct.
And there was nothing in this contract that indicated that there was anything wrong with this car that prevented it from being used in inclement weather.
Other than the fact is if the question was if there were a problem with the vehicle, would we have a backup type of vehicle under those conditions so that they wouldn't be without a car?
And what did you say?
And I told her, yes, that would be true.
What kind of backup vehicle did you have?
We have additional Rolls-Royces.
Good. Oh.
Plus limousines.
So you could have sent them, under the contract, another Rolls-Royce.
Which we did do.
Which also broke down.
Both cars did.
Both cars broke down.
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you tell me about the travails? You're at home waiting for the car to pick you up, and what happened?
I'm at home getting ready. I have the whole bridal party at the house. I get the phone call from Mr. Raduazzo. Basically, he was calling me to tell me that the car that I rented with him was not going to run.
What did he say?
He basically just told me that it was raining out and that the car wasn't going to run well. I rented this car for the day of my wedding, a year in advance. You know, this is part of a dream that I had. I wanted an old-fashioned car for the day of my wedding. And
so he called and told you the car was not going to run well.
Right.
What did you say?
I was basically in shock, to be honest with you. I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was calling me. It was like 3 hours before I was going to get married. I thought it was going to be a joke.
So, what did you say?
Basically, we hung up. I mean, he told me that the car wasn't going to run well.
What did you say, Miss Clanton? I'm asking you, what did you say to him? You didn't just hang up. He says the car's not going to run well. You're home. You're going to say you're going to send another car. You say you better send that car anyway. What did you say to him?
I basically just told him to send a car to get me to my wedding.
So did he send a car?
Yes, he did.
What time is the car supposed to pick you up?
4:30.
What time did the car pick you up?
4:30.
What happened when the car picked you up?
The vehicle that showed up was not the vehicle that I rented. It was another old-fashioned car.
Was it a Rolls-Royce?
I believe so.
Old or new?
It was older. It wasn't freshly painted. It was disgusting.
What happened on the way to the church?
Well, we live probably about a mile from the highway. We barely even made it to the highway. The car stalled before we even got onto the on-ramp. My mother was in the front. I was in the back with my brother, and basically the car was stalled out. We finally got it started. I was in tears. I was very upset.
What time did you get there?
Definitely late. That car was backfiring, so finally I talked the driver into getting us a backup car. So finally, around the corner from the church, they had another car meet us, which I had to get out in the rain, get into the other vehicle, and we were only about maybe a couple blocks from the church, so we were late. The ceremony was at 5:30, and we were definitely at least 10 minutes late.
Now, from there, you were going to the reception.
Right.
Which car did you get into to go to the reception?
A second car showed up, still not the car that we booked.
But another Rolls-Royce?
Yes.
And what happened with that car?
We probably got almost halfway there. On the side of the highway, major highway, we break down again. So we had to get out of the vehicle. We were on the side of the road in the pouring rain. I was getting mud splashed up on my gown.
Why did you have to get out?
We had to get out and try to get somebody to drive us.
Well, you didn't have to do that. You have a driver there for that. What?
The car itself, when it broke down on the side of the road, the photographer was behind us in a caravan. So I got out of the car and I flagged down the caravan. So I had to get her out of the car, get her in the caravan.
Okay, but she wasn't outside trying to flag down a car.
No, but getting her out of the car is where the dress started. I don't know how to hold the dress up. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that.
You better figure it out.
And then when we got to the church, I had no idea any of this was going on at all. And I'm thinking my wife left me before I got married, but I don't know what's going on. And the car shows up, and it's about 15 minutes later than we were supposed to start the wedding.
We're past the wedding. Get it together, Mr. Clanton. We're at the reception. You already got married. Now you're on your way from the church to the reception.
And we got stuck on the side of the road.
That's where we're up to.
Yep, and I had to
And
get
you
her out
gave
of the
me a
car.
very plausible explanation for the question that I asked. Don't volunteer anything else. Answer only questions posed.
Okay.
You won't get into any trouble that way. That's very good advice for a young married person. Don't volunteer any information. Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Mr. Radoazzo, sounds to me like you ought to get rid of your fleet of Rolls Royces, sir, and stop advertising them. They don't run.
Your Honor, the cars are 40 years old plus.
Problem is that you understand that some people really love the idea of getting married in one of these old cars. You have other cars in your fleet. I'm sure you have much newer limousines in your fleet. Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
But when you advertise with the white Rolls Royce because that's sort of a dream that lots of young people have and older people have when they get married, of being married and using one of these cars, elegant cars, to get them to and from. And what I'm telling you is that it sounds to me as if at least 3 cars in your fleet don't run if it's damp.
May I explain?
Yeah.
Okay. I started to call their home on the 13th of June.
That's a lie.
I spoke.
What did I tell you about volunteering? Don't you understand? Go ahead, sir.
I spoke to her father, I believe it was, and I explained that we were in conditions that just don't normally happen. We had 50-degree temperatures with rain, thunderstorms, fog. And I wanted to switch them to a limousine at that time. That was the 13th. I called again on the 14th and again tried to get them to go into a limousine. I called the morning of the wedding and the bride hung up on me and left me no alternative but to send the car.
You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Radoazzo. What I'm saying to you is you ought to get rid of this fleet of Rolls Royces that are 40 years old because, sir, they don't run well and you should stop advertising them. Now, if in the contract you said if you want Rolls Royces, you can only use them in good weather because in bad weather they don't run well and you make them aware of that, well, then they've been forewarned.
Well, they asked me at the time that we went into the agreement, what would happen if you had a problem with this car? And I explained to them.
Yeah, that's right. If you had a problem with that car, then you send another Rolls Royce. That's what the agreement was. That's not your problem, Mr. Radoazzo. Your problem is you had information that your customer didn't have. And the information that you had at the time you entered into this contract was that your fleet of Rolls Royces do not run well in certain kinds of weather. And that information you had to share with them because you knew that there was an inherent defect in the product that you were offering to them, and that inherent defect was that it doesn't go in the rain. Then they're aware of it. And then they could have made a choice. They're not aware of it. And so you are responsible. You're not responsible for everything that they think you're responsible for ruining their day. But you are responsible for giving them back their money. They didn't get what they bargained for. Let me see pictures of your wedding dress.
I only have a picture of us getting out of the minivan on the side of the highway. I didn't know that we were going to run into this problem, so somebody had a job to take my gown to the cleaner. So I do have the cleaner's bill and also a note from the cleaner stating that he couldn't get the...
Is this getting you out of the photographer's van?
Yes.
I don't see any stains on the dress. If your wedding dress is all covered with mud, then you must have a picture from your wedding showing me that the wedding dress, you say in your complaint, is covered with mud. I don't see it in this picture. Mr. Radoazzo, stop advertising these cars or at least modify your contract to provide that these cars do not run in the rain, they do not run in the damp, they do not run in the wet. And if somebody wishes to rent them on that basis, with the understanding that unless the weather is crystal clear and perfect, they're not going to run, they should have a substitute car, I think you're going to be faced with these lawsuits all the time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $395.
This is case number 167 on the calendar in the matter of Marin versus O'Neill. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Miss Marin, the defendant used to be your boyfriend, and according to what I've read in your complaint, you claimed 2 loans to him. One to enable him to buy a car, and the second one after he wrecked the car to have the car fixed.
That's correct.
The defendant says that the car was a gift he did acknowledge in his answer that there was a loan to fix the car, but he said most of that loan was paid back, with the exception of several $100s that he didn't pay back because of an incident involving your current boyfriend. So let's get to the car itself. When was this loan, according to you, for the car, and why?
Well, basically, when we started our relationship in August of the year 2000, and then he has expressed to me how he had a current car at that time, but he wanted a newer car. You know, he wanted to fix his life, so I wanted to help him become somebody. I wanted to help him with our relationship. I wanted to grow it to be something that we can grow into and be with each other.
Get to the car.
Get him on his feet. And when he got kicked out of his house by his parents, so my family took him in, and my brother's my witness. And I had spoken to my family. My family didn't agree that I was going to help him purchase a car.
Your family did or did not?
Did not agree.
Well, you should have listened to them.
They did not agree to that, but out of my own, will, out of my, I wanted to help him out. But by helping him out, with a verbal agreement that he was going to pay back the car. At least half, and I have the papers here.
Pay back the car at least half, did you say?
Yes, at least half of the car. And I have the papers here of when we took out the money from the bank, which is proof of...
You're talking fast. Because you're talking fast doesn't mean I'm not going to dissect everything that you're saying, Miss Marin.
Okay.
So you gave him the money to buy the car.
I helped him
and you
purchase the
said that you want him to pay it back, or at least pay back half.
That was the agreement. That was the verbal agreement.
Give me the piece of paper she wants to show me, please, Bird.
And the part that's highlighted is when we took out the money from the my bank account. So he came in.
Now, just for my own information, why half of the $7,800, Miss Marin?
Because I understood that he didn't have all the money to pay me back. But because his word, he stated to me that he had paid back his mother the full car that his mother had purchased him. And he had told me, Arlene, I promise you, my good word, that because I paid back my mother, I'm going to pay you back what I owe you.
And what did he owe you?
He owed me at least half, which is about $3,500.
He says, and put your hand down, I'm not looking at your direction. It's not that I don't see you. It's not that I'm interested right now in what you have to say. The defendant says that he had a car, and he sold his car to your brother for much less than its value. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Did you buy his car?
No.
You're a different brother.
It's a different brother.
Bought his car. What year car was it that your other brother bought from him?
It was a 91 Honda Civic.
And how much did your other brother pay for the car?
He paid $500 for it.
Is that right?
No, ma'am, that's $300 he paid for it.
Paid $300.
He was originally going to pay $500, but she reduced it to $300 without my knowledge.
Who got the $300?
Her mom.
That's incorrect. He had sold the car to my cousin for $500, and my cousin gave him the money. He had used the money to put stuff in his car, and when I resold the car, my cousin resold the car to my brother for $300. So that's incorrect what he's saying.
Okay, well, she gave me the money for the car, and she's saying that I used the money to put into the car. I didn't have a car at the time to put that money into, so...
You sold this 91 car to a relative of hers. Was it her brother or her cousin?
Her cousin originally, and she did not...
That's what I want. All right. So you sold it originally to the cousin. For how much?
It was for $500.
And how much did she give you?
Shh. Did she give you the money for the car?
No, not the whole $500.
Did she give you some of it?
She gave me some of it.
All right. Don't waltz around me, Mr. O'Neill. Do you understand? Don't waltz around me. Did you agree to pay her back half the cost of this car?
No, I was not going to pay her back for the car because she told me she was going to purchase the car for me as a gift.
She did. When did she say that?
She said that when we were in the room talking with her mother.
Was her mother in favor of that? Of her giving you a car?
No.
No, not originally, not at first, no.
I would say not. How long were you dating before she gave you money to buy this car?
About 3 months, 3 or 4 months.
Why would you even accept a gift?
I was looking for a new car. I was going to go to a used dealership and purchase a car, and she offered to buy me a car to her brother.
Why? You didn't sell the car to a brother, you sold it to a cousin.
Originally, yes.
Right. What I'm asking you is, why would you allow a girl to spend almost $8,000 for a gift for you?
It wasn't even like that.
Why?
She was offering it, and I didn't want it at first, and I told her that I wanted to get the car myself. But she offered to do it, and she kept offering, and I just said, okay.
You mean she wore down your morality?
She was offering the car.
She wore down your morality.
No, I was not offering the car.
Yeah, you were. Listen to me. Stop being stupid. You don't make a verbal agreement with somebody to pay back at least half the car. That's not a verbal agreement. You pay back at least half. Either it was a loan or it was a gift. Loan, gift.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They didn't give me nothing because it was in her account. They wouldn't give me no receipt or nothing.
Yes, they do. Of course they do. You go to the bank, you get a receipt.
They didn't give me any receipt. I was paying the loan back. Right?
I don't care!
And later today,
she played around with it and she pointed it at my face. And I said, don't point that at me. And she said, well, it's never loaded when she shot it.
No. Shut up. Don't speak. When did you have an accident with the car?
I believe it was in April, I believe.
You mean as soon as you got it? Try July.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Try July.
I'm sorry, it was a long time ago, so I really can't remember.
Wasn't so. How old are you?
20.
It wasn't so long ago. You should be able to remember that. You still have the car?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, in July, you had an accident with the car.
Correct.
Between April and July, did he make any payments to you?
At that time he was working.
April and July, did he make any payments to you?
No.
He was supposed to.
That's correct.
So in July, he had an accident with the car. And how much did it cost to fix it?
It cost about between $800 and $900.
How much did you borrow from her?
$1,200.
Now, why did you lend him another $1,200?
That's incorrect. The loan was for $3,000. He took all that money. I have it right here. There's the loan papers, and this is the outstanding for the insurance. It's a total of $3,800 that he owes for the loan, and he owes the whole loan.
Did you take $1,200 or $3,800?
We took a loan for $3,800.
For what?
On the title of my car. I used my title to take the loan out once the car was purchased.
Right.
So we pulled the loan out under her name, and she gave me $1,200 of that.
Oh, just a second. So you took the loan out, and the car is collateral.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And who's the car titled to?
Me.
How much did you pay back?
I paid her back about $800. I was paying her at the end before she broke up with me, and I was paying her a couple months after.
What did you do? You took out $3,800 on the car. Who got that money?
Well, we did, but she gave me $1,200 of it to use to fix my car.
And where went the other money?
We took a vacation to St. Augustine.
You did? Where else? What else did you spend the money on?
I don't remember. I know we gave some of money to her mom. She said that she wanted to give money from that loan to her mom as a gift. I believe
that's incorrect. I never used any of those $3,000. He used it all on his car. He bought a wing for the car, he bought a radio, whatever else he bought, he used it all on the car. I never used any of that money.
What is its current value, do you know?
Probably about $3,000. That's the value of the car in the Blue Book.
The value in Blue Book on the car, if you see on the loan papers, is $4,700.
And when was it $4,700?
A year ago.
Well, I'd like to know what the current... Do we have a Blue Book? Pat? We'll wait for you, Bert. You want to see if you can pick up a Blue Book for me?
Sure thing.
I have a very easy way to... You're going to get rid of this car. Pay off the loan. That's very easy. The car's going to be sold. I'm going to create an order that you will, within 5 days, turn the car in to the loan company.
Yes.
Pay off the car, see what the Blue Book value is, and that's it. Then you're finished.
But I sold my other car to hold Brenda.
I don't care! What? Say it standing.
That car is not worth any more what the value of the car is.
I'm going to check the Blue Book.
Because when we purchased that car was in mint condition. That car was a good, it's got a different engine.
Took off all the parts,
from what
the
I
radio
hear,
and everything.
that car is run down.
Maybe.
He has it all in
That's
his garage.
your problem. If she's going to be stupid, do you think that the courts are going to worry about that? I'm trying to at least make her as whole as I possibly can because I think that his actions are unconscionable. But she made him a gift of this car. There isn't a question in my mind about that. She did not, and if it was a loan, she would have had a loan paper, something in writing, not some nebulous, he'll pay me back at least half, and then when he doesn't pay her anything, April, May, and June, she lends him another $3,000 on her name. I mean, that's stupid.
Now, I was paying back the loan, okay, and I had forgotten her account number, and I called her to receive the account number so I can pay it because I didn't want to see her for the loan because we were broken up at the time. And she wanted me to give the money to her boyfriend to pay the loan back, and I wasn't going to trust that because at the time her boyfriend was threatening me.
Oh, be quiet. could you find the line here, Bert? I really don't read this thing well. And find it in the worst condition.
24, 25.
Your Honor.
What?
There's more to this than just the car itself. I mean, we took him in. As a family, we took him and we
When
gave
he got
him...
kicked out of his house
we
by his
we
mother.
gave him a home. You know, he betrayed us. And not only... I know my sister did wrong, because we didn't agree with her, the decision, in giving him that money.
Where'd you get the money from, by the way?
I got, because I have cerebral palsy, and then I got the loan. Well, it's not a loan, it's an annuity payment, because my father sued the doctor that delivered me.
Don't be so generous with your money.
I know.
How much money did he pay back? He says he paid back $800. Is that right?
No, he didn't.
He didn't pay back anything. I can show you proof. I'm the one who's paying those loan payments.
Just a second. Show me proof that you gave her $800.
I didn't give it to her directly. I was paying the bank, and I was giving the cash to the bank. Now, I was paying the bank back.
Bank gives you receipts if you pay cash.
No, they didn't give me nothing because it was in her account. They wouldn't give me no receipt or nothing. Because
Yes, they do. Of course they do. You go to the bank, you get a receipt.
They didn't give me any receipt. I was
Well,
paying the loan back.
then you're as stupid as she is. Then you're as dumb as she is.
And if I could also add that she wanted the money that so bad that she actually made an attempt to make a false statement on my father's credit report and filled out a credit card application. And she didn't receive this letter, so she wrote another one to see if she got the letter, and we got this one.
Who cares?
What is he talking about?
It has her address and her name
Who
on
cares?
it.
What does that have to do with the money that you owe her?
Because she was trying to get the money from me, so she was making an attempt to get money from my father.
You were hiding from us.
And I did not make any attempt to get anything from
Here's her address and my father's name on it.
Because you lived in our address.
Listen to me. You're going to sell the car because you didn't make the payments like you were supposed to. $3,000. If you get 2 for the car, it still means you owe her $1,000. You've driven the car for a while. I hope you've enjoyed it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000 plus an order that the car is to be sold forthwith, and the money is to be remitted to her. The other $2,000. Thank you. That's all.
Excused. You may step out.
After she broke up with me, I just left her, and now she's coming back to get my car.
It's what he did to us as a family who took him in when his own family didn't want him.
I heard her talking in Spanish with her boyfriend to get again and kick my sons.
His mother and his father both threatened me.
She's a liar, she's a thief, and she committed a lot of fraud.
I have done nothing to them.
She will go to jail, I promise you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burdock versus Mayo, step forward, please.
21-year-old student Jessica Burdock is suing her former friend, 20-year-old cashier Jennifer Mayo, for shooting her in the face with a pellet gun. Jennifer says Jessica asked her to do it.
Ms. Burdock, the defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours.
Was.
And she shot you in the face.
Yes, she did.
With a pellet gun.
Mm-hmm.
Could you step up here? I'd like to look and see where the mark is from that.
I have this scar and an indent in my gum.
Well, the indent in your gum, you don't say. Let me see the scar.
And no feeling in 2 teeth.
Okay, step back. I'd like you to tell me when this happened and under what circumstances.
It happened last year, July 7th, I believe. And we were trying to wake him up, and then we brought him.
Let's start from where were you?
We were at my apartment.
How many people were there?
4 of us.
Did you all live together?
Joe and I did, and we had another roommate, and she was over visiting us.
Go ahead.
And we were looking for cameras to go get developed that day, and she found Joe's pellet gun. And she played around with it, and she pointed it at my face. And I said, "Don't point that at me." And she said, "Well, it's never loaded." And she shot it.
No. Shut up. Don't speak. Don't speak.
And I remember my hair went flying, and I had this really bad sting, and I covered my mouth. And she was like, "Did that hurt?" And I moved my hand, and there was just like blood pouring out, and I started screaming and crying. And
what kind of medical treatment did you need?
I went to the hospital in the ambulance, and then they said that the pellet was lodged too far in my gum to be taken out, so I had to go have oral surgery.
Can I see your medical bills, please?
I also have a picture. There's a police report there also.
Take it away, Miss Mayo. Let's hear you now.
Okay, we had woke up that morning and we had started cleaning her apartment because she had her DHS lady coming to check on the apartment to see if it was all in order. So we were cleaning, and I picked up this pellet gun and said...
What'd you pick it up for?
All of our friends in previous days had passed around the gun to feel the CO2 pressure. That is what I knew it as, a CO2 gun. I had no idea it could carry anything else but CO2.
Shh. Did you hear what I said? So, how old are you?
20 years old.
So you picked it up?
Yes.
How big is this gun? Where was it? Where did you have to get it from in order to pick it up?
It was on a table.
Go ahead.
And so I said, this is CO2 pressure. You want to feel what this is like? And she said, no. I said, well, it's not loaded. It can't carry anything but CO2. And so I said, here, you want to feel this? And she said, okay, go ahead. And so, and does it hurt? Oh, my God. And we were both hysterically crying.
Miss Mayo, that is such a crock that you just gave me. I believe that this was an accident. Listen to me. I believe that this is an accident, which is your defense, that it was an accident, that you didn't know that it was a pellet gun. But let's examine the circumstances of what you did. You picked up a gun like an idiot. You weren't sure what it was, like a fool. You pointed it at someone like a moron. And then you said to another human being who is a friend of yours, you want to see how this feels. She's smart enough to say, no. That's what you said. Then you fudged it a little. Because then you said, she said, all right, go ahead. Shoot me, pointing it in her face. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. What happened was she said no, and you were fooling around because you really didn't think that it had a pellet in it. And even if you did think that it was more than that, you had no intention of hurting her, who should pay these bills?
I have no problem paying these bills.
Good. Oh, perfect. So
Well,
then
there
what are
we
we
go.
doing here? Good. You do something irresponsible, you have to pay. Our medical bills are $1,278 for your stupidity. I'm tacking on another $2,000. $3,278. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
These are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 118 on the calendar in the matter of Stutz versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
This case is like a mini-series. Mr. Stutz, you and the defendant lived together for a long time, and there were lots of pieces to your claims, because I have a claim, I have a counterclaim. The main part of the case is about a van that you claim is yours, that after you broke up, you had impounded. So now the van is in impound someplace. Is that right, sir?
Yes, it's in the storage.
And you want the defendant to give you the title to the van so you could have your van out of storage. The defendant says it's her van, and she wants the van. Then you claim that she has some jewelry that belongs to you. She says she has one piece of jewelry that belongs to you that she's prepared to give back to you. And what is that, madam?
The ring his father had made for him.
Can I see it, Bert, please?
Sure.
So let's take care of the simple things first. Okay. Is this your father's ring, sir?
I can't see that far.
You can't see that far. I can see up close.
Yes, it looks like it.
Now you have it back.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Easy.
Thank you.
Now let's deal with the other easy part of this case. You were engaged to be married,
That's true.
and you gave her an engagement ring.
Yes.
And how much did you pay for this engagement ring?
Approximately $1,300.
You have the receipt?
No, I don't have the receipts. She has all the receipts to them. We had a joint checking account at the time. My mom left me a bunch of money, and I put it into account because I couldn't have a checking account. And so she paid for it, which was my money that was in the account. She paid for it with check. All the money that was put into the account was what my mother had left me. My mom left me approximately like $48,000, and it was all my money that was in that account. She had nothing.
Yes.
I took care of his mother. She was dying of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes.
How long did you take care of his mother?
About 6 or 7 months.
Yes, she took care of my mother. My sister made her a deal. Paid her so much money a week, room and board. During the time she was there taking care of my mother, my mom still took care of her family, helped her mother out.
All right.
And
Let me
everything.
just a second. So what you're telling me is she wrote out the check for her own engagement ring.
Yeah, with my money.
Was it his money that paid for the engagement ring?
Yes, he put the money into the checking account,
All right.
and it was
Fine.
$1,000.
So it's his?
It was $1,000.
$1,000. Where's the ring?
It got stolen along with my VCR and some other stuff of mine.
When?
I'm not exactly sure. It was in my girlfriend's car.
Did you file a police report?
No.
Why not?
Because I had to have her. It was in her car.
So what? if the property was stolen out of the car, why didn't you file a police report?
Well, I didn't find out about it until later.
I
Then
don't
couldn't
believe
get
you.
Well, it's true.
Oh, I don't believe you. How's that? You don't keep an engagement ring in a car.
No, she had my bags and stuff.
Did she have insurance?
No.
Then if she didn't have insurance, then you file a police report. Then you say to me, here's the police report. I listed it as an item that was stolen, and therefore I have some proof that it was stolen. So right now, sir, you're ahead of the game by $1,000.
Thank you.
On your claim. Now tell me about the van.
Okay, I bought, my mom left me money, and she had 3 wishes for me. One, okay, well, I bought this van on approximately October, when I got a big check from my mom's inheritance that she left me. And she was supposed to go register the van as me as legal owner and her as registered owner.
Why did she do that?
For insurance purposes.
Why? What's wrong with you?
My record isn't very good that
Why?
way. Because I had a couple tickets at the time.
What else, sir?
And that's it. Just tickets.
So you put the van in her name?
No, it was never finished in her name. What it was, she was supposed to go take it down there, and then when she left, after a big heated argument, she took the van, and just left. The next day, I go down to the DMV to find out what's up. They tell me that she's trying to put this in her name. And so I says, wait a minute here, so the DMV puts a stop on it. And as my witness will tell you, he's seen the money exchange at the time.
How much did you pay for the van?
I paid approximately $3,300 for it.
Oh, okay. Now, what's your story about the van?
For one, he wasn't there.
Just tell me what your story is about the van.
Okay, when we were waiting for the house to go through probate, he lost his job. We needed money to pay the rent, and we sold the Volkswagen van so we could pay rent. And he said that he would buy me another van, and he was going to buy a truck. And he said...
All right, so you sold his car in order to pay the rent?
No, he gave it to me, and he kept saying, it's up to you, it's your van. If you want to sell it. I said, well, we need to pay our bills.
All right, let's go. Let's go. So now we went and bought the van. He bought the van with his money, is that right?
Yes.
Is that van titled now? Is there?
No, it's not. It's right through the middle of it all.
It's not complete, but I have the paperwork here.
Good. Can I have it, please?
And then there's some
I'll
other
just give
jewelry
her
that's
all
involved,
the
too.
paperwork.
That's it. That's it.
And Your Honor?
What?
Can I say something else?
What?
When I went to the DMV to finish the paperwork, and the police came and said that it was on the hot sheet, I said, yes, I reported it stolen because it was stolen from behind my apartment.
How long did you people live together?
Off and on for like 15, 16 years. When my mom died, I tried to make it work, and it just wouldn't work. I was tired of taking care of her and her family. We went through a bundle of money, and like 3 months, we went through a lot of money.
And I don't have any indication that he made a gift of this van to you. He bought it, he paid for it, and shortly after you got it, you took off.
When I left, Your Honor, he said for me to sign off on the RV, and he wouldn't give me any problems about the van.
That's baloney.
Oh, just 1 second, just 1 second. Hold on a second. Oh, here we... Hold on a second.
He was there. He was there.
Hold on a second. You bought an RV?
I bought this RV at the beginning of when my mom gave me a first $10,000 check. I bought an RV to live in because my mom, when she was on her dying bed, said to buy this so you make sure you have something to live in.
Just a second. What year was that?
2000.
And at that point, you'd been together with her 13 or 14
No,
years?
we really weren't together off and on. What happened
What does
was
that
we
mean?
got back together when she was taking care of my
When
mother.
he needed help.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and when she got paid for it, I even
Okay,
took her
just
to
1
Mexico on a
second.
cruise.
So before that, you weren't living together?
No, we only actually lived together after my mom died for, 10 months or something like that. A relationship was just like that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
I haven't touched you in over 10 years.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it.
And later today,
Have you ever known her to be psychiatrically hospitalized?
Yes.
How many times was she in a psychiatric hospital?
I really couldn't tell you because I'm so used to being incarcerated, so I couldn't tell you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Merle Stutt says his former longtime girlfriend, Leylon Bailey, owes for the return of his van and the return of jewelry. Leylon says Merle has her belongings too.
Listen to me. Give him the title to his van.
Your Honor, he was there.
I don't care. He paid for the van. It's his van. He was stupid to say, go put it in your, you put it in your name.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, he told
quiet.
me to.
Quiet. We don't have a long-standing living together for 15 or 16 years. You've known each other 15 or 16 years. You actually lived together for 10 months after his mother died.
We lived together before. And he almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
Then why did you
I
go
haven't
back?
touched you in over 10 years.
Then why'd you
Until
go back?
in the RV.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it. Get over it. You cared for her enough to give her an engagement ring, right?
Yes, at the time, yes.
She bought me the van.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I'm agreeing with that.
Fine. And you get $1,000 for that because I don't believe her story for a second that it got stolen out of a car with a lot of other stuff without filing a police report because somebody has property that's stolen. You call the police and you say, this car was broken into and all my property was stolen. That's what a normal person does. All right. Now, you say that he has some of your personal property. What does he have of your personal property?
My microwave oven that my girlfriend gave to me.
Yeah.
He tried to give me an old broken down one.
Yeah.
And
What else?
my brass
Stop it.
collection, my angel collection.
What else?
And some clothes.
You have her angel collection?
She can have it all.
Sure.
She can
I
have it
want
all.
you to just pay attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have her angel collection?
Yes, it's in storage, and I'll give it back to her, so no
Pack
problem
it
at all.
nicely and give it back to her.
Yes.
Do you have a microwave that she had?
No.
Nothing else?
The microwave was given to both of us
Listen
to
to
put
me.
in a motorhome.
Anything else other than her angel collection?
I'll give her everything. I don't want none of her stuff.
What else do you have? I need to itemize it.
My mom gave her a rocking chair, which she can have, and the angel
And my sewing machine.
and the sewing machine. She can have that too.
What
Yeah,
else?
that's
So let's
all I
make it
took.
clear.
Okay.
Listen. The two of you, stop moving around so much. You're making me nervous. Angel collection, sewing machine, and a rocking chair. What else do you have, sir?
That's all. I don't know if the sewing machine and the rocking chair is in the garage because I went in there and she'd already been in the garage taking stuff out of it.
Do
so
you
we
have
have to
the
ask her if
sewing
she took
machine?
it.
Yes, I got the sewing machine.
And what about the rocking chair?
I got the rocking chair. but-
Fine. So what we're talking about is an angel collection. 5 days from today, you make sure she gets
Oh, yeah,
it.
yeah, I will.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The only reason I left was because he hit me, and I told him if he got physically abusive with me again, oh
never
yeah,
touched
you
you.
never tried to kill me, huh?
I took her to Mexico, spent money on her, bought her clothes.
He almost
Okay.
killed me when his
But, Mom,
mother was alive.
Giving her family money, taking care of everybody. And I just got tired of it.
If they've been physically abusive once, they'll never change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Charles versus Wooden. Step forward, please.
Production worker Phyllis Charles is suing her former friend, auto detailer Samuel Trell Wooden, for an unpaid loan for $1,000. Trell says Phyllis is lying.
Miss Charles, it's your claim that you made a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never borrowed any money from you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what all that junk is?
This here is this outfit that he bought, and we bought an amp from him because he said he was doing so bad.
Put it over there.
Thank you.
What did you make the loan for?
Well, he said that him and his girlfriend and his baby was going to be evicted.
Was he a friend of yours?
Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood.
Go ahead.
And after he told me that, I was like, okay. And then my boyfriend said, well, go on and loan the money. I said I would. He had a story like he needed $500 for his rent. He was going to move, which is why I didn't question it.
Does any of this sound right to you, sir?
I don't know what she's talking about, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, that's what he told me in my house.
Was anybody else there?
My boyfriend was.
Step up here. Tell me your last name, sir.
Washington.
Mr. Washington, do you know the defendant?
Yes, I do.
How long have you known him?
A long time. Now almost 20 years.
Well, do you remember this conversation in the house about money?
Yes, I do.
Well, look at me when you talk. Don't look at her. Tell me about when that happened.
Well, I think it was like in March that he had came to us and he was like stating the fact that he had needed some money for his rent. And at the present time, they were going to be evicted.
Mhm.
Now, all of us is good friends, so it wasn't really no problem about the money itself. And so shortly after that, there, he came and he took us to the bank. We got the money out the bank, and she gave it to him.
How much money did you loan him?
$1,000.
Let me see proof that you loaned him $1,000.
I have that where I drew $2,000 out March 1st.
Why did you take out $2,000?
Well, the other $1,000 was for me. I bought furniture, I bought a entertainment center, and I paid some bills and stuff. That's it.
Is this a checking account?
Savings.
Now, did he give you any of the money back?
$100. I ran it off, and I put when he gave it to me.
Let me see. Now you can explain to me what all that stuff is that you bought,
Okay,
because maybe
what-
it has a reason in this case.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Charles says former friend Samuel Trell Wooden owes for a $1,000 loan. Trell claims Phyllis never gave him any money.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, he did come to the house, okay? And then about the end of April, I'll say.
After you had loaned him the money?
Yeah, after I loaned him the money.
Yeah.
He called my house. He wanted him to come and pick him up from Pet Boys. When he picked him up from Pet Boys, he came back with a bag with this outfit. And then I had him to call. And I said, why did, we call him Trail. I said, why Trail gave you, you know, the outfit instead of sending me my money? So he said, no, you calling, you asking. So I asked Trail, you know, you bought him an outfit and you didn't send me my money. Then all of a sudden I heard the phone just drop or hang up. So he called back. I don't know what was discussed between them on the phone.
Well, what happened when you called back?
No, he was like this, basically saying, you know, man, why is your woman, you know, calling my house with all that, you know, BS and stuff, man? I ain't with that. Won't you just tell that was like this gift, you know, because...
I don't understand the word you just said to me.
A gift.
I want to know what was the discussion that you had with him after your fiancé
when
gave
she
you
called,
a hard time.
When I called back, right, and he got back on the telephone, I told him, you know what I'm saying, man, what's happening? He said, man, look at him. Don't have your woman calling my house with all that bullshit. That's what he said. And so I was like, well, man, the girl want her money. You know, she hot about the amount about the money, you know what I'm saying? We bought the outfit and I already knew it was going to happen like that, though. So then me and him, we felt went to talking about the issue. Then that was it. That was the end of the conversation.
All right. Did you have that conversation with Mr. Washington? No, listen to me. I want you to remember the conversation that you had with Mr. Washington. Did you speak to him about having his fiancée call your house?
I did speak with him about that.
And you told him to stop having her call the house?
That's right.
And she was calling the house about what, Mr. Wooden?
That I don't know. It's just something she just come up with. You know what I'm saying? Calling my house, talking about some money that I borrowed from her. Number one, Your Honor, I don't have to borrow no money from them because most of the time I wind up, you know, like he going to jail, I'm bonding him out of jail. If she got $1,000 to give to me, why she can't go bond him out of jail?
All right, you had a conversation with Mr. Washington. Do you remember hanging up on the plaintiff?
That's right, I remember that.
Because she was bothering you about money.
That's right.
And you've known her for how long?
24, 25 years. I've been knowing her for a long time.
For a long time. So now she's calling your house and bothering you about money that she says you borrowed from her, that you owe her. Is that
yes,
right?
That's what she's saying.
That's what she said? Mm-hmm. Now, in the 24, 25 years that you've known the plaintiff, have you ever known her to be psychiatrically hospitalized?
Yes.
How many times was she in a psychiatric hospital?
To be honest with you, I really couldn't tell you because I'm so used to being incarcerated. So I couldn't tell you.
Mr. Wooden, listen to me very carefully, sir. Do you know what I mean by psychiatrically hospitalized? In the hospital because you're nuts.
She is.
Shh. Have you ever been psychiatrically hospitalized?
No, ma'am.
Of course not.
No, ma'am.
Of course not. So she's not crazy.
Thank you.
So, Miss Charles, you've seen my courtroom before?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
So you know a few things. You know what I always say. If you're going to make a loan to somebody, you put it in what?
Writing.
Right! And you didn't do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? So that
Yes,
was a
ma'am.
big mistake.
Right.
So you didn't learn really well.
Right.
So now you put me in the position of having to make a decision as to whether or not you loaned him money, because he doesn't say it was a gift, he doesn't say it was a payback.
Yes, ma'am.
He says, she never gave me any money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we put things in writing when we make a loan.
Right.
Because now I have to decide whether or not Mr. Wooden is a liar.
Right.
Or you're a liar.
Right.
Now, Mr. Wooden.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady you've known for 25 years, and she's not crazy.
She is crazy.
Shh, no.
About my money,
No.
yes.
She's not crazy. What she is angry.
For what?
Because you borrowed money from her, sir.
Nah.
Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. There isn't a reason in the world that I can think of, unless you can tell me the reason, why this lady who's known you for 24 years, or her fiancé who's known you for 20 years, would concoct this story about $1,000. She could have said, I lent him $2,000 because she withdrew $2,000 from her bank. She didn't say I lent him $2,000. She said she lent you $1,000. And he was a witness. And she kept calling you on the telephone to say, where's my money? And then, and this you verified, she got angry when you went and bought the fiancé an outfit. She called you again. Why are you buying him an outfit if you owe me money? Give me the $25 or the $30 that you spent on his outfit. What are you giving it to him for? And then you hung up on her. And then he called you back, and you said he called you back. You see, little pieces sometimes make the truth. So you owe her $900 because you already paid her back $100. Judgment for the plaintiff. Put it in writing.
I will next time.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, case number 248 on the calendar in the matter of Morissette versus Morissette. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. Be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Morissette, the defendant is your father, and you're suing him because you say he didn't do the right thing with regard to a car that you paid a lot of money for that was in his name, and he took the car back, and he didn't have any reason to take the car back, and you want him to give you back the money that you put into the car, which was $3,000. Is that right?
He had reason to take it back, but I just want my down payment back.
That's sort of interesting. You say he had reason to take it back. So
I mean,
let's
well,
get...
he didn't really have...
Shh, just a second. You put $3,000 down in the car, is that right?
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Morissette?
No, ma'am. It was $2,500.
Okay. Let's say she put down $2,500. Why don't you tell me the reasons that you think that your father took the car back? How long did you have it, by the way?
From 97 to September of 2000.
And he took the car back in 2000? So what took you so long to get to court?
Because I had found out that my father had said once he paid the car off, he was going to return the car to me so that I can have transportation. Once the car was paid off, he never returned the car to me.
So in 1997, you put down $2,500 in the car?
I put down $3,000. I saved up $3,000 for
Let's say you put down
payment.
$3,000. That was in 1997, 5 years ago. And you drove the car from 1997 to when?
Till September of 2000. But I didn't drive it that whole time from 1997 to 2000.
Why not?
Because he took the car about maybe 4 times.
Why?
Within the whole time. Reasons: one, I had an accident one time in Fresno.
How many accidents did you have?
2 accidents.
Anybody hurt?
No.
Were you on his insurance at the time?
Yes, I was.
And how many cars did your father have?
About 4. Well, yeah, 4, including mine and his
Including
name.
yours, so his insurance went up on all of his cars, I assume, right?
But I already
Big time.
stated before that I would get my own insurance.
Well, did you get your own insurance?
No, because he took the car.
Right. How many years would you say you drove this car?
Totaling about 2 years, because all the times that he took the car.
So you drove the car for 2 years?
Yeah.
Who paid for the insurance?
I did.
Were you
My
up to-
insurance was $120 a month. I was giving my father $150 actually, and he was making a $30 profit. But I always paid him every.
Is that right?
She paid the insurance, but that's not. She didn't give me no profit.
So far she's paid, let's say, $1,500 a year to drive a car. Is that right?
Yes. I also paid for when he took the car from me in September. I paid for the car. He started driving the car to work,
What do
and
you
I
mean?
was still paying the car notes while he drove the car.
Really? In 1997, you were paying the car notes?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, she paid for 2 years on the car, like she
I
said.
paid for more than 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
2 years she paid on the car.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So it was more than just the down payment.
Yeah, it was more than the down payment. She was driving the car. It was a party car.
It was not a party.
I said, well, Chandra, the car is in my name. You can't let everybody keep driving this car. Everybody
what'd you
drive
say?
the car. Oh, my friends. Them was her friends long as she letting them drive the car around. Them was her friends. Okay, well, I said, well, since this is in my name, insurance calling me up. They not calling her. They calling me.
You're absolutely right, sir. So you took the car back.
And I told her, I tried to explain it to her. Okay.
Did you let your friends drive the car? Did you?
Yes.
So why'd you do that for? Father said, don't do it.
Well, one time, the accident
I'm
that
at risk. He says to you, I'm at risk. Everything that I have, I could lose because you're letting your friends drive the car.
Yes, and he took the car from me those times.
Listen to me. He took the car from you, but then at some point he gave it back.
Yes, he did.
And then you let your friends drive it again.
That happened twice.
So that's twice too many. Chandra, that's twice too many. And you had an accident twice. And the 2 accidents that you had, did the insurance company say that they were your fault or the other person's
The first
fault?
accident was not my fault. The second accident was my fault.
Tell me about the second accident.
The second accident, I was in Fresno. Someone else was driving the car.
Someone else?
Yes.
Oh, Chandra, you don't deserve to have a car.
Yes.
You don't deserve to have a car, period. End of discussion. How much did it cost? Quiet. How much did it cost, sir, to fix up all these problems with your daughter?
$40,000 on this car. $40,000.
Show me. This was on the last accident she had?
The last one, She didn't have an accident. Her friend was driving the car.
I know.
$19,000 was paid out on that one.
Well, how much do you owe, sir?
Huh?
Nothing.
I mean, I understand that this is what the insurance company
He paid
is
nothing.
Shh. Oh, he paid.
Oh, yeah.
Believe me.
I'm paying
he paid.
now.
He's paying
This-
now, and he's going to pay for a very long time for
Right.
all the other cars that he'll ever own. He's going to pay for this.
This is an accident in Fresno. She said she was driving, which is state that Jose was driving.
Not Jose.
Right here.
It was not Jose. It was Joseph.
Jose, $19,000.
Here they paid $19,000. And this one is for $40,000 that they paid out?
That's the total package on the 3 accidents that occurred on the car. And so when the insurance company said, "What you gonna do about Chandra?" I said, "I'm dropping her. I'm dropping her."
He had to drop me.
No, he said, when he called me, he said it's gonna cost about $4,000 a year for Chandra.
You're right. You drop her.
So
Fast.
I'm
and you
dropping
take back
her.
her car. Say no more, Mr. Morissette. Listen to me. I'm going to make it as simple as I can for you, Chandra. I want you to listen to the reality of it. You drove the car for 2 years, if I believe you, but the car was really in your possession off and on for 3 years,
Yes,
which
it
is
was.
what you told me. Your father took it back various times and gave it back to you when you promised you would be good and not do the wrong thing again. He gave it back to you. He gave you another chance, and then he took it back again. So for that period of time, when the car depreciates in value, I'm speaking, you had use of the car. Then there came to a point where your father is told either you drop her or we're dropping you or we're going to raise your rates on your other cars so high that you're going to be working 6 jobs in order to pay your insurance. So your father is left with only one choice, which is drop Chandra and take the car back permanently. At that point, he has to pay you zippity-doo-dah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you go back on your word when you said that I won't let anybody else drive the car anymore? Did you go back on your word? Did you go back on your word?
And later today,
How did you pull your daughter out?
I grabbed her by the arm and pulled her on out of there, and she started screaming. I was worried about her because she was out of the car, and he started coming toward her and hit her with the truck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chandra Morissette says her father, Freddie Morissette, illegally repossessed her car. Freddie says Chandra was allowing her friends to drive it.
Miss Morissette, your irresponsibility placed him in a position of risk. The car had already depreciated in value the moment that you drive it out of the lot. Probably at least the amount of your down payment. And if you had done the right thing and had been responsible, your father would not have been in a position of having to take the car back from you. It's as simple as that. It's your fault.
I know it was
And
my
it's your
fault
fault
that
that
he
he
took
is
the car
going to
from me.
continue.
But my father had made an agreement that he would pay the car off. Once he paid the car off, he was going to give the car back to me in my name, and I was supposed to pay him. Then he went back on that.
So, did you?
No, I didn't, because I was paying him the whole time. I was there.
Listen to me. Did you go back on your word when you said to your father, I won't let anybody else drive the car anymore? Did you go back on your word? Did you go back on your word? Did it cause him a lot of trouble?
Yes.
Cost him money? Forever? As long as he drives a car and has insurance? You have a younger brother? Because according to you, he paid off the car and he gave the car to your younger brother.
Yes, he did.
I hope he's more responsible.
It wasn't always like that. I mean, when he said that he would give the car back to me once I paid it off, I mean, that's what I thought was going to happen.
So?
So I had to continue paying for a car that he was driving.
What was the last payment you made on the car?
Was in August.
Of what
August of 2000, because that's when he kicked me out.
2 years ago, the same time that all this problem was staring at him in the face from Allstate Insurance Company. You know, you're in good hands?
Yes.
Your car was not in good hands when you had it.
Yes, it was. I took care of...
Listen to me, you're not getting your down payment back from your father. If he had a counterclaim for what all your irresponsibility cost him, I guarantee you it would be far more than the $2,500 or $3,000
He shouldn't have never
that you...
agreed to give me the car back once I paid the car off. Or he shouldn't have said that he was going to pay the car off and give the car back to me. That's how all this started. That's how...
It all started, madam, because you were irresponsible. And you lied to your father, and you caused him all kinds of difficulty, and he kept giving you chance after chance until he finally got disgusted.
And I was trying to prove myself to him, trying to prove that I am responsible.
You working?
Yes, I am.
Where?
It's at Barnes & Noble's.
How long have you been working at
I've
Barnes
just started
& Noble?
working there. I was recently working at Kmart.
You live by yourself?
No, I don't. I live with my boyfriend.
Does he work?
No.
He doesn't work?
Right now, he's in jail.
Your boyfriend is in jail?
Yes.
So you don't live with your boyfriend, you live alone? Is that right? Yeah,
I live with my boyfriend's grandmother.
You live with your boyfriend's grandmother. You have
Yes.
children?
No, I don't.
Do you pay rent to your boyfriend's
Yes, I do.
grandmother? How do you get to work?
The bus, or I walk, or I have to call a cab because it's on days when the buses don't run.
Why haven't you in the last 2 years been able to
I've
save
been
up
trying to
enough money?
save up for a car, but living on your own is hard to try to save up for a car
Especially
and
if
pay
you live,
rent.
especially if you have a boyfriend who's in jail.
He has nothing to do with none of this.
Oh, sure he does. It's an exercise in my determining whether or not you still have good judgment. And I'm telling you, if there are two young people and you're working and he's working, so you're able to combine your money, you have a little extra money so that you can put away a little bit every month so that you can save, so that you can buy the things that you want, that's good judgment. If you choose at your age to have a boyfriend who's in jail, that's an exercise in poor judgment. Chandra, get over it. Your father owes you nothing. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I want her to realize I'm trying to help her.
I worked hard for that car.
She's not helping me.
And then he's gonna take it back from me and then not return like he said he would do.
I'm trying to do her a favor.
My father's never treated me like he treats other kids. He's always treated me like I'm, an outsider.
I'm trying to help her to get out in life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Morton. Step forward, please.
Nurse Danae Johnson and her husband, Robert, are suing their niece's boyfriend, 18-year-old handyman Derek Morton, for damaging their car.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, is this your daughter?
Yes.
No. Your daughter was dating the defendant.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah. And you didn't approve.
Absolutely not.
According to your complaint, the defendant purposely damaged your car or a truck that you were in. And it appears to me that when you came home one day, if your daughter wasn't home, you went to the police station to find out if they could help. You thought she was with the defendant. You were on your way home. You saw his truck. You decided to follow his truck, to confront him, and talk to him about dating your daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
And it was during this attempt to talk to him that he damaged your vehicle.
No.
Why don't you tell me what happened? You go home, you don't find your daughter. You go to the police, you're on your way home. You see his truck. Pick it up from there.
We followed the truck, and he took a turn.
You follow the truck?
Yes.
Go ahead.
He takes a turn down a road that has a circle drive on it, and as he went into the circle drive, I stopped and just sit there waiting for him to make the turn and come out the other side.
So you blocked his way?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My husband got out of the car, went to the passenger side of the car, pulled our daughter out of the car.
You go over to the passenger side. Open the door?
Yep.
And how did you pull your daughter out?
I grabbed her by the arm and pulled her on out of there, and
And what is she saying to you as you're pulling her out of the car?
she started screaming. I don't know exactly what she was saying, but she was yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danae and Robert Johnson claim they spotted their 14-year-old daughter driving with 18-year-old Derek Morton. The Johnsons say when they pulled them over, Derek damaged their car.
Okay, you get her out of his truck.
Right.
And what do you do with her when you get her out of his truck?
Well, she's standing beside me. I kind of leaned in my head in there to tell him to not be messing with my daughter, and that's when he started to take off. And he kind of hit me with his truck on the leg, and then I was worried about her because she was out of the car, and he started coming toward her and hit her with the truck.
Hit her body or hit her car?
Hit her body.
Our daughter was jumping on his back and telling Derek, go, take off, take off. I got out of the car to go get my daughter, was what I was doing. And
To pull
she started
your daughter
screaming.
off your husband's back?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And she was yelling, take off, Derek, take off. And as I rounded the back of the car, he just floored it and was taken off. And I threw myself out of the way. He caught my arm with his truck, kind of spun me around a little bit. He went on down the road, and I was furious, to say the least. We all got in the car, and we're headed to the police station. And we get down the gravel road a little ways, and Derek's just kind of toying around, going 3, 4, or 5 miles an hour, Not really fast enough that you could follow him. So I stopped and looked down to grab an ink pen to have my husband write down his license plate number so there could be no question who it was. And as I was looking down, Bob and Jennifer yelled, watch out, Mom. And before I could look up, he had already thrown his truck in reverse, reversed into me, and then takes off again.
That's what happened. So I was absolutely right. You went to talk to him and get your daughter out of his company. And it was during that time that you allege that he both assaulted you with his truck and assaulted you with his truck and caused damage to your vehicle. Right?
Right.
That's what I said when we started. So I only have a couple of questions for you, Derek. How old are you?
18.
How old is she?
15.
14.
14. You get the drift that her parents aren't crazy about you.
Yeah, but I want to tell my side of the story too. So.
I'm ready.
All right. They said it's a bunch of bullshit.
Now listen to me. Listen to me. Derek, do you know the difference between rain and shine?
Yes.
Listen to me. Look at me. I don't want you to follow it through. You know the difference between rain and shine? Yes?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between black and white?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between a playground and a courthouse?
Mm-hmm.
Speak.
Yes.
In a playground, you can use
Yes.
whatever language you like. In a courthouse, watch your mouth, or then I don't listen to you. Do we understand each other, Derek?
Mm.
Now, you're going to start to tell me your story again, but you're going to leave out the playground language. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Speak.
Yes.
Good. Now I'll hear you.
All right. I was driving down the road, right? And then she was on my bumper.
Correct. That's exactly what she was doing. They did exactly the wrong thing. Whatever they did was wrong, mother and father.
Did you let me finish my story?
Did you just hear what I said? I said whatever they did was wrong.
Well, be quiet while I'm talking. All right, this you.
Oh, get him out of here. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, sometimes God did not shine on you right. God did not shine on him and give him brains. It gave him the brain cells of an amoeba. You know, we all had to start from someplace. So I understand if you don't want your daughter to have anything to do with him. However, you went about it the wrong way. Do you understand?
Yes.
You went around it the wrong way. Your initial reaction was right. You went to the police station and you said, my underage daughter is with this 18-year-old cretin, and I want him out of her company. But you cut him off. You touched his car, sir. When you grabbed open the door to his car, you put your hands on his property in a threatening manner. You created a situation where your own daughter is jumping on your back. Is that ridiculous?
Well, I wasn't going to do nothing. The cops told me if I assaulted him, I'd be going to jail, so.
Listen to me, sir. You were creating a situation that potentially was inflammatory because he doesn't have any brains. He reacts. He reacts like an animal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you probably knew that. I assume that you knew that. Maybe she doesn't know that. But you were smart enough to know that. You don't confront an animal. You let professionals, exterminators, confront animals. That's what the police are there for. You don't do it yourself, because when you do it yourself, you get your truck banged up. And that's what happens, and you got to pay for it. You still see him? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I think he's a jerk.
A jerk? Huh. To put it mildly, jerk. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, go home. Take your daughter home. Goodbye. That's all.
All these are excused. You may step out. The This is case number 279 on the calendar in the matter of Bielefeld versus Generette. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Bielefeld, other than being the owner of this car that was damaged allegedly by the defendant, you have no independent knowledge of this case. Is that right?
That is correct. She also is it her car? It's not my car.
It's your daughter's car?
Yes, she owns the car.
Okay, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Step up. Your first name is?
Ashley.
Ashley, according to your complaint, you went out partying one evening, and the defendant was within this group that you were partying with. Is that right?
Right.
And you don't know what happened, but you passed out. The next day you woke up and you found that something had happened to your car.
Right.
You don't remember giving anybody permission to drive your car?
No, I don't.
When did this happen?
August 27th.
Your first name is Chris?
Yes.
Tell me about August 27th, Chris.
Well, we were all drinking.
Who was all?
My witnesses, me and Ashley.
These two people?
Right. Just
the four of you?
Yes.
Where were you drinking?
At Jean's apartment.
Who's Jean? Can I see a show of hands, please? Who's Jean?
I'm Jean.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, we were there drinking. Okay, and as it got later, me and Dalton, my friend Dalton right there, we got hungry, so we wanted to go get something to eat. So we asked Ashley if we could use her car to get something to eat. We went down to Jean's car, got the keys out, took her car to go get something to eat.
Just a minute. Hold on. Hold a second. Let's backtrack a little bit. You were at his house drinking.
Right.
What were you drinking?
It was Smirnoff vodka and Cardi Gold, I believe.
And what time had you started drinking?
We got the stuff about 10 or 10:30, and
How did you get to his house?
I rode with Jean.
Jean?
Yes.
How did Ashley get to the house?
She drove her car.
Herself?
Yes.
What time did she get there?
We got the alcohol and we all just met up there, so right afterwards.
So about 10 or 10:30.
Right. That's when we got the alcohol, and then after that we went to Jean's apartment.
So there were two cars there.
Yes.
Jean's, your friend's, and Ashley's.
Right.
And then I assume you all were drinking. Is that
yes.
right? What time did you get hungry?
I'd say it was around in between 3 and 4, probably 3 or 3:30.
So you had been there for a long time drinking.
Well, we weren't necessarily drinking the whole time nonstop.
I didn't say double time nonstop. You were up from 10:30 till 3:30. You hadn't gone to sleep and you were drinking.
Right.
And you got hungry about 3:30.
Yes.
Where in his apartment were you when you got hungry?
Right there in the living room.
Were you all in the living room?
Yeah.
Where was Ashley in the living room? Look at me. Where was Ashley in the living room? Look at me.
She was by the couch.
What do you mean by the couch? What does that mean? Standing up at it?
By the futon. I mean.
What does by the futon mean?
She was standing beside the futon.
Standing?
Yes.
How long had she been standing, Chris?
I don't know.
Well, it's about 3 or 3:30. You got hungry. You turned around and you saw her standing by the futon. What was she doing standing by the futon?
Well, I wasn't really paying attention to her. I mean, I wasn't
So
paying
then why
attention.
did you give me an answer? She was standing by the futon.
I mean, I wasn't specifically watching Ashley, so I couldn't tell you exactly what she was doing. But we were all in the living room. We were all by his door. Me and Dalton got hungry. We asked her if we could use her car. We went down the stairs.
Why didn't you use his car?
I just didn't ask him because I figured he'd say no.
Why did you think he'd... Shh! Why did you think he'd say no? He's your friend.
Well, because he's a little more picky about his cars, so...
What does that mean? Explain that to me, Chris. What do you mean a little more picky about his cars?
He really doesn't like to just let people borrow them or
Especially
nothing,
people who have been drinking.
Probably.
Now, what kind of car does Ashley have?
Dodge Neon.
A new one, an old one?
It's like a 95.
Is it in good shape, or was it in good shape?
Yeah.
What kind of car does he have?
ZX2, 98.
So, who got hungry?
Me and Dalton.
So the boys got hungry?
Yes.
Ashley wasn't hungry?
Nothing I know of.
Did you ask her?
No.
No, let me go back there for 1 second, Chris. You were... Shh, please. You were going out to get food because you were hungry, is that right?
Yes.
Who was hungry?
Me and Dalton.
What's the other kid's name?
Gene.
Gene. Was Gene hungry too?
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Why not?
Because me and Dalton were hungry and we just wanted to go get something to eat.
You mean you're just selfish people?
No.
You had 4 of you there, 4 of you up drinking all night, and you say, we're going to get something to eat. So you don't say to your friends who you've been drinking with all night, hey, we're going to get something to eat. You want us to bring you back something? You don't say that?
No.
No? Where were you going, by the way, at 3:30 in the morning to get something to eat?
I was going over to my friend's apartment to get some pizza that they had, so we were just going to heat it up and eat it.
To get pizza not from a store, from his freezer?
It was from a store, but it was in the fridge, so it was like leftovers.
How did you know that he had that leftover pizza?
I talked to him earlier.
When earlier?
Before we got the alcohol, probably around 8 or 9.
Oh, tell me about that conversation that you had with him. I'm curious. Come on, Chris.
Well, we
Come
were
on,
just
story's
talking
getting better.
and
Story's getting better.
Well,
About
we were
8,
just
9 o'clock. I'm speaking. When I speak, you don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm sorry. I took your car. I was drunk. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot.
Okay, but I don't know.
I don't want to hear you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jenneret drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Now, at 8, 9 o'clock, before you went to get the vodka, you spoke to your friend and said, listen, I may get hungry later tonight. You got any food in your house? Is that what? So that was the conversation.
No, I did not even plan on going over there. It's
So
just
tell me
something
about the conversation.
I can't remember the conversation.
Try to think hard. You weren't drunk at that point at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening.
He just called. We just talked, just like friend-to-friend conversation, and I knew that he had leftover pizza, and I knew he would still be up at that time, so we went over there to get some, which I never even ate because of this.
Because of what?
The car.
Well, now tell me what happened with the car. You went over to Ashley and you asked her for the keys when she was standing next to the futon after having been drinking from 10:30 until 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
And she said, sure, take my keys. She gave you the keys. Is that right?
Yes.
And you got into the car.
the keys were in Jean's car.
You went down to Jean's car and got the keys.
Right.
What were the keys to Ashley's car doing in Jean's car?
I have no idea. I just know that the keys were in Jean's car.
How do you know that?
Well, okay, we went joyriding for a little while in Jean's car, all four of us. We drove around.
When did you do that?
This was before we got food, but after we started drinking. We were a little bored. We went driving around.
So that's somewhere after 10:30, but before 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
You went joyriding.
Yeah, it was probably
in his
around
car.
12, maybe.
Shh. In his car.
Yes.
So explain to me how her keys were in his car.
She had left them in there.
How do you know that?
I just knew.
How did you know? Look at me.
Because I knew they were in there. I saw them in there. I mean,
You saw them?
Yeah.
Just a minute.
We
Because you saw them, that she had left them in the car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Keep going. I love it when they sort of trip over their ties.
Okay, so where would you like me to begin at?
No, I'd like you to continue, sir. You asked her for the keys when she
Right.
was standing next to the futon.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
But you already knew where the car keys were because they were downstairs in the car because that's where you had seen them when you were joyriding at 12:30. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So then you went downstairs and you took the keys out of Jean's car. Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So then me and Dalton got in her car. We started driving. We were getting on the highway to go over there. Whenever we were entering the highway, we had to turn right to get on the ramp. So we turned right, we hit something, we had a blowout, we pulled over, and me and Dalton had walked back to Jean's house so that we could get him to take us back and help us change the tire and everything. So, because there was like nothing in there to fix the tire with, so we had Jean come back and help us.
Now, Ashley, according to you, you were so drunk, you just either drunk or drugged or something. You passed out and you don't know what was going on.
I don't remember anything after we were driving in Jean's car.
Can I see the estimates for the car, please? Now, Mr. Jennered, I am going to sum up the credible parts of your testimony, sir. And maybe this is a good lesson for you. Just because people are older doesn't mean that they're stupid. You were trying to get over telling me a story that didn't make sense. And I assume that you understand at this point that I understand that the story you gave me initially and the story that you wrote in your answer was a lot of who shot John. Because I believe that you all were drinking from 10:30 until 3:30. I believe that you all went out joyriding in his car. I believe that you decided to continue the joyriding and that he said to you, you're not taking my car again because you're drunk as a skunk. I do not believe that you asked her for the keys to her car because you already knew where the keys to her car were. You had seen them in the car at 12:30 when you came in. So you knew that her keys were downstairs. Why in the world would you go over to her when she was standing next to a futon and saying, can I have your keys, when you already knew where her keys were? Stand up straight. Now, when you hit something, according to you, you just had a blowout and that's all you had. Oh, that's not what happened. You hit something with such force that the tire blew out, knocking the whole alignment off the car. That's what happened. You're responsible. Period. End of discussion. I'm sorry. I took your car without permission. I was drunk. I had no right to be driving a car. I not only could have killed myself, I could have killed somebody else. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. And I'm going to pay for the damage I caused. That's what you do.
Okay, but I don't know.
I don't want to hear you. Whatever damage it was, maybe it wasn't attributed to you. Sometimes when you're stupid, you got to pay for things that weren't even your fault. Sometimes you do. Maybe the bumper on the car was loose, and Might have fallen off the next day, but because you took the car and hit something, it was damaged already. You damaged it a little bit more, it fell off. It's your fault. You had no right to get behind the wheel of a car, any car, yours, his, hers, because you were drinking. No right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jenneret drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Anything you want to say? Anything you...
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that the fact that he did ask for the keys, me and Ashley were sitting on the couch.
No, no, no. You weren't sitting on the couch, sir. She was standing by the futon.
That is the couch.
She was standing by the futon.
I'm saying we were sitting on the couch.
Well, so far, that's a different story that he just gave me.
That's my story. I
Let's
believe...
go. So you and Ashley were sitting on the couch. And?
Yes. And he came up, asked her for her car, and she said her keys were in my car. And then he asked me for my keys to see if he could go to the car and get her keys, which is what happened.
Well, but that's not what he just told me, sir. He told me that he saw the keys in her car after you had been joyriding in your car. So he knew where the keys were. You see, that's what he just told me. Maybe you're all a little blurred because you were drinking too much.
I understand.
Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is.
Good. Sit down. You want to say anything?
No, I'm all right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $744.52. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't remember that night.
Well, yeah, we were partying and it did get out of hand.
They're obviously too young and irresponsible to be doing acts like this, drinking and driving, out running around.
What's done is done.
I want her to be able to put this behind her and move on.
We don't even talk anymore.
Not to drink as much, maybe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nelson versus Thomas. Step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Tritasha Nelson is suing her ex-boyfriend's wife, 22-year-old nurse Natasha Thomas, for vandalizing her car. Natasha is countersuing for harassment.
Are you Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're his wife?
Yes.
And Ms. Nelson, you have children. Father of those children is Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
It is your claim that his wife vandalized your car.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How long are you married?
4 years.
You have children?
Yes.
How many children?
2.
How old are they?
3 and 1.
And Miss Nelson, how old are the children that you have by Mr. Thomas?
2 years and 4 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
Other than the obvious, Miss Nelson, your car was vandalized when?
It was vandalized on the night of July 4th.
Just a second. July 4th of this year?
Yes.
Did you see Miss Thomas vandalize your car?
No, I was at home.
Mr. Thomas had borrowed your car?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that Mrs. Thomas vandalized your car?
He told me that she vandalized my car.
Stand up. Mr. Thomas, did you see your wife vandalize Miss Nelson's car?
No, ma'am.
Did she confess to you that she had vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Miss Nelson that your wife vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing driving Miss Nelson's car?
Me and my cousin, we went out that night, and we used the car just to go out that night. And he told her before I got home, before I got there, I mean, that I guess they don't get along.
Sit down. Miss Nelson, has he been living with you or with his wife?
He's been living with her for the past, I mean, he was living with me around the time when I got pregnant with my second child.
And what about your first?
No, he told, well, that happened. They were separated. He told me that they were divorced. When I found out that they were still married, I was already pregnant with my first daughter.
So you knew he was a liar? You knew he was a liar when you got pregnant with your second child?
True.
That's what you get. Listen, you have no proof that she vandalized your car.
He told me that she vandalized my car.
He denies that now.
Well, I mean...
I don't know. I mean, he's a liar.
Exactly.
So when am I supposed to figure out when he's lying and telling the truth? Now he's telling the truth? He's talking to you and he's telling the truth?
Well, his cousin called and told me that she vandalized the car.
You can't tell me what his cousin... Listen to me.
Okay, well...
Listen, you're trying to talk over me? You can't tell me what his cousin told you.
Okay.
I just asked him, and he's been sworn, whether his wife confessed. He said no. If you want to be dumb enough to let him use your car, that's your problem.
Exactly.
That's your...
I know, I understand that. But when he bought me my car back, he took me outside, showed me the damages, and he said that she vandalized my car. He came in the house, his shirt was all ripped up because she got thrown out of the club because him and her was arguing and fighting, and she told him that she was going to go outside and vandalize my car. She went outside and vandalized my car, and since then I've been telling her I want my car fixed. Yes, I have been harassing her, and because I want my car fixed, the police came and took fingerprints off the car. Every time they come to her house, she won't open the door because she knows she's guilty.
Miss Nelson, listen to me carefully. This is not a talk show. It's a court. You have no proof that she vandalized your car. She probably did it.
I know she did it.
Well, she probably did it. Why in the world you would let him drive your car, I have no idea. Why? He's a liar. He's a two-timer. He's married. You have 2 children with him. So, does that make you smart or dumb? Does that make you smart or dumb?
It was dumb of me again the second one, but the first one, I didn't know.
Madam, listen to me. Were you married to him?
No, I wasn't married to him.
Then is there any reason why you should have a child with him?
Well, he shouldn't have lied about not being married the first time.
Listen to me.
And I wouldn't have.
You weren't married to him. Why are you having a child with him?
Like I said, I didn't know that he was still married when I had my first child.
He wasn't married to you.
So?
Go have your car fixed. Not by her.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 257 on the calendar in the matter of Michaud versus Canfield. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Michaud, you have a teenage daughter who's been giving you some trouble, I gather. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who also has a teenager who's a little bit of a problem, the defendant assisted your daughter in running away from a shelter where she was placed. During the course of this running away, she committed a series of crimes for which you have been held responsible for the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her for interfering with your daughter's custody,
Yes, ma'am.
which caused you not only emotional distress, which you are suing for, but also the payment of these fines that you had to pay through the courts for the various crimes that your daughter committed while on the run.
Correct.
And you say that that was facilitated by the defendant's conduct in harboring her.
Correct.
The defendant says that she didn't know that all of this problem was going to develop when she went and picked your daughter up from a gas station where she had placed a call, that she in fact tried to get her to return and turn herself in when she found out that she had done some of these things, that she was really only trying to help.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your daughter?
Over there.
This
in the black, ma'am.
Step up here. What's your first name?
Amber.
How old are you, Amber?
17.
How old were you when all this trouble started? 17 or 16?
16.
Does the defendant have a daughter who's a friend of yours?
She used to be my friend.
What's her name?
Lissy.
Spell it.
Lissy.
Now, where were you and Lissy? Were you in a facility, in a shelter?
We were in Antrim Girl Shelter together.
And how did you get to this girl shelter?
I was put in the girl shelter for not going home for a week, the week I stayed at Lissy's house.
So your mother put you there?
No, the judge put me there because I was on probation and I was court ordered to be home.
You were on probation for what?
A lot of stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Well, was you on probation for stuff that involved your mother or stuff that involved the rest of the community, like shoplifting and stealing?
Stuff that involved the rest of the community.
So you had been arrested for committing a series of petty crimes?
Yes.
You were placed on probation. A condition of your probation was that you were to stay at home.
Yes.
And have a curfew. And
Yes.
do all the other things that a normal 16-year-old does.
Yes.
And you violated your probation according to you. I'm just trying to put this in English so that everybody, including Bird, understands it.
Okay.
So you were told that you had to do everything right, and then you wouldn't go to jail.
Yes.
But you didn't. You went to stay at Miss Canfield's house with Lissy for a week.
Yes.
And then you were placed in this shelter by the judge because you violated the terms of your probation.
Yes.
When were you placed in the shelter with Lissy?
We met up in the shelter. I've been to the shelter like 3 times. And we met up there the first time I was there. And then it was Thanksgiving time. I stayed at her house because my probation officer told me that if I didn't stop getting in trouble, he was going to put me back in the shelter. So I went and stayed at Lissy's house.
And then I decided to go home the day after Thanksgiving, and then I got sent to the shelter.
She was arrested the day after Thanksgiving, Your Honor. She called me from the Canfield residence and asked me if I was going to call the cops if she came home. I told her I wouldn't. When I hung up from her, I called the police station and told them, my daughter's on her way home. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to call you and tell you that she's here, and hang up the phone. And when she pulled in the driveway in the Canfield truck, I called the Dover Police Department and said, Amber's home, and hung up the phone. And the next thing I know, there was cops everywhere. And I did not inform her that I was going to do that. I did it because I needed to protect her. She wasn't protecting herself.
Okay. Had you, in fact, called Mrs. Canfield during this Thanksgiving week when she wasn't at the shelter?
No, ma'am, I did not. I did not know where my daughter was the week of Thanksgiving. I didn't know about Mrs. Canfield and Lizzie, other than Lizzie was Amber's friend. Amber would ask to go to Lizzie's house before Thanksgiving, and I let Amber go, not knowing the type of home that it was at the time.
Well, why didn't you know?
I guess ignorance on my part. Amber just said it was a friend of hers.
That's your job to know.
Yes, ma'am.
If you let your daughter, who's been in trouble before, go to a girl's house, and I assume you knew that she met Lizzie at the shelter, right?
I wasn't sure where she had met Lizzie.
Well,
I've met
did you
Lizzie.
ask the question, where did you meet Lizzie?
No, ma'am.
You're trying to place blame on this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm coming back to you and I'm saying, maybe partially her fault, but let's come back to you. What information did you have or should you have had with proper exercise of your parental responsibility? What quality information could you have gotten if you asked a few questions or did a little digging? You would have found out that Lizzie was a girl that she met at the shelter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have told you one thing. Trouble! Then when she said, I want to spend some time at Lizzie's house, say, okay, I'm going to get in the car and go over to Miss Canfield's and we're going to have a chat because just because you met her at the shelter, maybe she's not a girl who's all bad. Maybe it would be good for you to be together. But let me speak with Mrs. Canfield and find out what kind of a lady she is, what kind of a house it is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You did none of that?
No, ma'am.
So there's a little, on your side, a little blame.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Possible bipolar, possible just bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail Michaud says when her daughter, 17-year-old Amber Burley, ran away from home, she was aided by Lisa Canfield. Gail says during that time, Amber committed a series of crimes.
Now, when you ran away, Amber, you committed another series of crimes, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, what did you do?
When I left the shelter, I left with their van and...
The shelter's van? Yeah. How industrious of you.
Yes. It wasn't good on my half, and I also took allowance money.
What do you
to
mean
where I was
allowance
going.
money? Whose allowance money?
Like, they put all the girls' allowance money in one.
All the girls, not just your allowance. So you stole money from the
Yes.
shelter. So you stole both the van and money.
Yes.
And you left with Lissy?
Lissy was at home. She had called me and told me that she was coming to get me because I had court in 2 days and I was supposed to go to the youth detention center.
Sounds like a perfect place for you.
Well, Lissy called and told me she was coming to get me, and then I called her house back and I talked to her mom and I informed her mom that I was coming.
Is that what she said to you?
No, Your Honor, that's not
What
what
did she say?
said. She had called a couple days before and had talked to Lissy, and then at one point had left a message on the answering machine for Lissy. I didn't realize she was going to leave placement at that time.
But you went and picked her up according to the complaint that I read.
A couple nights later at 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me and said she had been in an accident, and I didn't know that she had stolen the van. I didn't know that's how she had left placement, Your Honor.
Yes?
When I called Lissy, I told Lissy.
I'm not talking about Lissy, I'm talking about her mother.
Her mother. I told her mother that I stole the van and the money, I got into a car accident, and I needed a ride home. And I told her that I'd give her...
Baloney!
That's not what she said.
Bull! I don't believe that you told her I stole. I stole the van and I stole money, please come and get me, because I had an accident. That I don't believe. I might believe that you said to her I had an accident, and then later on she found out that you had stolen the van. But I don't believe that you right up front said to her I stole the van. Why would she come pick you up? Is she crazy?
Because I gave her $50 for coming to get me. with the stolen money. I said, can you please come and get me? I will give you $50.
That I believe. That you said to her, please, I was in an accident, come and get me, I'll give you $50. That I believe.
After I told her that I stole the money.
That I don't believe.
I did.
I mean, I don't know anything about her. All I know about you is that you're a liar, that you're a thief, that you place your needs over the needs of everybody else. So if I have to rely on my common sense would dictate to me that when you got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't say anything that would turn off an alarm in her head and say, I better not get involved with this, that you would say, please, I had an accident, come and get me, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And you said, I'll give you $50 if you come and get me. And she may not be the nicest person. I mean, I may not entrust her with my grandchildren, but she doesn't sound to me like she's psychotic. You'd have to be psychotic to come and pick you up when you told her, I stole the van that I'm in, and I stole the money that I have, and I'm going to give you $50 of the stolen money. That doesn't jive with my common sense. In any event, you should have known better, Miss Canfield, because you knew where your daughter met her. You knew a lot more about her than just that she was a nice young girl from around the neighborhood that your daughter was palling around with. So you should have kept your nose out of other people's business.
Well,
right?
what was I didn't feel right leaving her in the middle of a snowstorm.
Tell her to call the police.
In a car accident.
Tell her to call the police, Miss Canfield.
I didn't do that. I just...
Well, I know you didn't do that, but you should have.
Yeah, well, I probably should have.
Well, you should have. Why didn't you say to her, why don't you call your mother?
Because she told me her mother doesn't have a license.
When did she tell you her mother doesn't have a license?
A long time ago, when she first started coming to our house.
Call another relative. Do you understand what I mean, Miss Canfield?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you understand that I believe that either through your own stupidity or whatever, you aided her in doing the wrong thing.
And that was not my intention, Your Honor.
Well, it may not have been your intention, but that's exactly what you did. When you went to pick her up, before you went, you did call her mother and tell her, I'm going to pick up your daughter.
Not at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
Because I didn't even have her phone number.
Why didn't you say to her, give me your mother's phone number? I wanted to know where you are.
Because I figured if she wanted to call her mother, she would have.
There's your problem. She's 16.
And I know that she had some problems with her mother before. That's why she came to my house at Thanksgiving.
That's not your business. You chose to let that be your business.
Because I feel bad for kids sometimes.
You having trouble with your own daughter?
Yes, and that's why I feel bad for kids sometimes.
That doesn't make you a poster mom for Dr. Spock.
No,
that
it
makes
doesn't.
That makes you somebody who's had trouble rearing their own teenage daughter and doesn't make you an expert in child rearing. So you don't have enough parental skills to take care of your own daughter. What gives you the right to take care of somebody else's daughter who's a problem?
That bipolar has nothing to do with parental skills.
Oh, yes, just a second.
It's a disorder.
Just listen to me very carefully. I haven't heard that she's been diagnosed with being a bipolar.
My daughter has.
But what gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. You know, a lot of bad behavior has been attributed to a lot. They always like to put a label on things. You know, label instead of just being a rebellious teenager, just being somebody who is naughty, just being somebody who is undisciplined. Possible bipolar, possible just bad. People don't like to use that term. But it is possible. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You believe that Miss Canfield is responsible for all your troubles with regard to this incident. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I don't believe she's responsible for
Well,
all of them.
Good. You are at least partially responsible. You should have known where
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was.
Yes,
You should have known who Miss Canfield was. You should have visited her home.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have gotten some information about her before you let your daughter go there.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop moving around. Sorry. Okay. Now, what would the extent of your fines?
Right now, I'm still pending fines for something that also took place while I was at Miss Canfield's house. Me and her daughter went to a car dealership and took a bunch of cars. We took them to Miss Canfield's house. They were there for 2 days, and then we woke up one day and decided we were going to go see my dad. So we took one of the cars to Lissy's mom's work. We showed her the car. We told her that we were going to go up to my dad's. And then Lissy decided to go with her boyfriend. I went with my dad. I ended up in a high-speed chase.
You went with your dad?
Yes.
Did your father say, where did you get the car from?
My father called the police on me.
And is that when you got into the high-speed chase?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you were finally apprehended?
Nope, I was caught at Miss Canfield's house 3 days later.
I see. So you beat the police in the chase?
Yes, and I went to a phone and called Lisa and asked her to come get me.
I see. So in this high-speed chase, you lost them at the border of New Hampshire.
Nope, they followed me all the way to Dover. They were right behind me. We just jumped out of the car, and because it was the town that I lived in, we knew it, and the police officer didn't, so we all just
Who's
ran.
the we? All?
There was me, Randy, Nicole, and Brittany in the car.
Where'd you get them from?
Lisa's house.
No, they weren't at my house.
Where did you meet them?
Nicole is my best friend. I've known her since I was 12. And
Does she have any psychiatric problems?
No.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So she's not bipolar?
No, she's not.
Now, who else?
Not yet.
I met Randy at Miss Canfield's house.
So how long do you know Randy?
I knew him for like 2 weeks.
He's not bipolar, is he?
He's not. I don't know if he's bipolar.
You don't think you're nuts, do you?
I was. Not no more.
Oh, good. Maybe it was the 5.5 months you spent in the juvenile facility.
Yeah.
When you were in the juvenile facility, I'm really curious about this. Were you on medication?
Yes.
How often?
I took 900 milligrams of lithium once a day.
And now?
Same thing. It's court ordered for me to take it.
You staying closer to home these days?
I live with my mom now.
I asked you if you're staying closer to home.
Yes.
You doing anything like going to school?
I recently enrolled back in high school, and I participate in community service at youth resources.
Not voluntarily, I assume.
Yes, voluntarily.
What happened as a result of stealing the van and stealing the money?
I got a $650 fine, and I spent 5 months and 3 days in the youth detention center.
Oh, well, that's an eye-opener. Did you like it?
No, I didn't.
I assume not. And I assume that you would prefer not to go back there.
No, never.
No, never. You know what the youth detention facility is like after spending 5 months there?
Yes, I do.
Paradise compared to adult jail. Paradise. Miss Canfield, did there ever come a time when your daughter and Amber came to your house and had a couple of cars with them?
When
The answer is either yes or no.
I was at work, so I'm trying to answer you the best I can. I know the car, one of the cars was there because it drove over my septic system, and I saw where it drove over when I got home.
What kind of car was it?
I have no idea.
Was it a new car or an old car?
It was new.
New car?
Yes.
Didn't you ask about it?
Well, it wasn't at my house when I got home. I just know there had been a car at my home because it drove over the back lawn.
Didn't you ask about it?
Yes.
And what did your daughter tell you?
She said they had taken a car, and I told them to take it back.
Did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Look, your problem, Miss Canfield, in all of this is that I gather from the papers that you either were found guilty or pled guilty in the criminal court to somehow interfering with the plaintiff's custody of her daughter. Is that true?
In order to get the deal, I had to plead guilty to all charges.
There you go. So you pled guilty?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Canfield, as I indicated to you before, even if I didn't find that you were responsible in any way for this young lady's antics, you already acknowledged that you were responsible for this young lady's antics, at least partially responsible by your guilty plea in the criminal court.
Well,
I think that her mother is more responsible than she's willing to acknowledge in not making sure where her daughter was.
Ma'am, I
when she
take
wasn't with her.
responsibility for what
Good. Well, then you're suing
do
the
in my
plaintiff for $5,000. That includes your emotional distress, part of which you're responsible for.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fines. So I think so far she's responsible for all the fines and you're responsible for your own emotional distress. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Giannis, case number 211 on the calendar in the matter of Palmer, Chorney versus Palmer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
How are you related to each other?
Friends.
How are you involved in this case?
That's my best friend. She borrowed him the money. She borrowed me the money to borrow him.
She loaned you the money?
Sorry, she loaned me the money.
That he allegedly borrowed from you?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? This is your father?
Yes, ma'am.
It's your claim that the father borrowed $200 from you and also has some property of yours that's not worth very much, but $80, a VCR and a quilt set. He says he never borrowed any money from you, and you took all your property, put it outside, and you came by and you took it. What did you lend your father money for?
My best friend had borrowed or loaned me $200 to loan him $200 so he could move into the apartment that he is staying in with now with his girlfriend. He did not have the full deposit to move in.
When did he ask you for this money?
June 8th.
Did he call you on the phone?
Yeah, he called me on my cell phone.
Where were you living?
With my mother.
So your father called you and asked you to borrow money so that he could put down a deposit on an apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would he call his daughter?
He's called me many times to borrow money. He's borrowed money from me several times.
How old are you?
19.
What kind of work do you do?
I clean houses for a living. I work for Mary Maids.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Palmer?
I'm a truck driver, been a truck driver for 10 years.
You work steadily 5 days a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for?
Right now I'm working for D&D. What is it?
Don't ask her. She doesn't drive the truck.
Oh, I can't remember what it's D&D Services, I guess is what
It's
they call
D&D
it.
Realty. He maintenances for his landlord. He is not driving a truck.
On what date did you lend him this money?
June 9th.
Who were you working for on June 9th?
A1 Container. It's a trash business.
And how long had you been working for them?
Right around 7, 8 months.
So there was really no need for you to borrow money from your daughter?
No, ma'am. When all this was going on, I was in the process of a divorce. I was living in my truck for 2.5 months. The gentleman that I worked for at A1 Container was holding my paychecks so I didn't blow my money, so I would have the money to move in. This 200.
Why was he holding?
I asked him to hold a certain amount of money every week. I'd cash my check. I'd give him cash. We'd hold this for me so I don't blow my money, because he knew the predicament I was in. I'd been living in my truck for 2.5 months. This whole case started over, this was supposed to be a trip that Amanda, Sylvia's 7-year-old sister, was supposed to take to Kansas City. I couldn't get the time off of work because I had just started working.
Oh, what's your first name?
Amanda.
Amanda. Who's Sylvia?
This is Sylvia.
And who's 7-year-old?
That's her sister, and she's 6,
has
and that
nothing
is
to do.
incorrect. He had lost his job.
Go ahead.
We had planned a trip to go to Kansas City. It was supposed to be a week later than what they went. We told her not to go because her car would not make the trip. I had a SEI.
When was it?
The trip was supposed to take place, I take her, Your Honor, every year.
When was the trip?
June 22nd for her birthday. For the last 10 years, I've taken my daughter to Worlds of Fun.
She went. So what's the $200 for?
She went to Kansas City against my wishes. I had a mechanic look at her vehicle. The mechanic stated, your car is not worthy. I got a phone call at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on my pager from my girlfriend, Linda. Your daughter is in Kansas City. Her car broke down. She was 80 miles outside of Columbia, Missouri. She got on the interstate, left Worlds of Fun on 480.
Don't give me the road, sir. It doesn't make any difference.
She went the wrong direction.
So what was the $200 for?
She's stating that I borrowed $280 from her. I borrowed no money. I was supposed to pay for their trip to Kansas City. They went without me, and the mechanic told her not to go. The car broke down. They called me. I took time off of work. I borrowed money. I borrowed a car, drove to Kansas City, picked up my daughter, Sylvia, and a 7-year-old girl out in the middle of nowhere. The Highway Patrol had to find her for me.
How long did it take you to get there?
They called me at 2:30 in the afternoon. I showed up in Kansas City at 9:30 at night.
And when was this?
The day that they took the trip.
Your Honor, it was the 12th that
12th
we
of
were
what?
stuck out there, of June.
So you're telling me that your father borrowed money from $200 from you on June 9th.
Mhm.
And 3 days later, he came out to Kansas City to get you.
Yes.
He did
He
come
came out. He came out to help me with my starter because my starter went out in my car. I had took it to my personal mechanic, and
No, I'm talking about you drove 11 hours to come and get you.
I called him at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
and he was not home. So his girlfriend called him and then called me back and let me know that he was working and he'd be out as soon as he could get off of work and he
Your
could
Honor.
find a car. I did not call him at his place of business. I do not know that
Did your father
number.
come to get you on
Yes,
June 12th?
he came out on June 12th.
Okay, and he came out. What did he do when he came out on June 12th? Just a minute. You sit down. Look at me. Look at me. You too.
When he arrived, he threw the cooler that belonged to her towards her little sister, and his girlfriend hollered at him and pushed him away. He then put a spare tire on my car because my spare had exploded. The company out in Kansas City put a new starter in my car, so I needed a tire. It wasn't the starter that I needed help with.
Okay, so?
And the $200 had nothing to do with the trip. He was fired from A1. He did not work there no more. The only reason why I borrowed him the money is because I felt bad for him because he got arrested for sleeping in his truck.
Okay. Now, what about these things that you say he has that belong to you, a VCR and a quilt?
When he first moved into his apartment, they were sleeping on the floor. They had blankets, and that was it, because his girlfriend's going through a divorce and just left her daughter and her husband to be with him. I had went to stay with him for a little while because I wasn't getting along with my mother. And I had a VCR, and I had my TV there. I got my TV and my dressers and my clothes back. And the only reason why I got that back is because I was escorted by officers because he...
Well, what caused the trouble between you and your father?
His girlfriend.
Wow.
Excuse me, Your Honor?
Explain that to me. It sounds to me as
that
if...
being more important than his daughter.
It sounds to me as if for at least, he says 10 years, he would take you to this water park.
No.
Say 5 years.
Worlds of
But
fun.
you had a reasonable relationship with him. Certainly you got into trouble and you called him to come and help you.
It was occasionally reasonable. It depended.
Good. Okay. And then if you had difficulty with your mother,
Yeah.
you said you went to your father. So it wasn't as if you were estranged, you know, that you weren't
While I
speaking.
was staying with him, my belongings were there, but I was staying at Sylvia's house most of the time because we were fighting.
All right. But sometimes you were there, and it doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a terrible arrangement. So what kind of problems do you have with his girlfriend?
That she was on probation, and he is...
Probation for what?
I believe DWI.
Okay.
And the problems all occurred, and the reason why I started staying with Sylvia was because they were arguing because he was having pot in the house while she's on probation, and that she was drinking while being on probation.
Did your father drink?
From what I understand, yeah, he has been. While I was staying with him, I had seen him drink several times.
Your Honor, I quit drinking April 13th, 1988 when I hit a telephone pole at 80 miles an hour because of alcohol.
So
And I
what do you
haven't
vouch-
drank since.
So,
My
Mr.
Uncle John
Palmer,
passed-
what do you involve? Listen to me. Just listen to me. If that's true, that means that there was a point in your life where you had a drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounds to me like you had a serious drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what do you get yourself involved with somebody who has a drinking problem for?
Because my girlfriend has been in AA for 2.5 years, clean and sober. I have been clean and sober for almost 11 months.
That's
And
incorrect.
Just a shh.
I
I thought
would
it was
like to-
1988.
I would like
I thought it was
I would like to
1988.
explain, Your Honor, I would like to explain why this has all come about. The problems between me and my daughter are right there with Sylvia Chorney. My daughter lied to you when you asked her, what is your relationship? They're not friends. They are girlfriends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a substance abuse problem.
I had no
Period.
substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in
Prove
AA.
it. Test me right now and
You
prove
told
to
me you
that
were
I
in
had-
AA.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amanda Palmer says she loaned her father, Mark Palmer, $200. Mark says Amanda is a bitter girl and she's seeking revenge.
Now,
that is my friend.
There was a point when this all came out, before I found out that my daughter and Sylvia Chorney were seeing each other. Sylvia Chorney went to the Omaha Police Department and filed charges against me for rape, for fear of how I was going to react to this.
My mother that's when he was still with my mother, and my mother was around, and I went to my mother when I found out that he had raped her. And I had took my mother to Village Inn. I sat down, I had talked to her. My mother knew before he knew that I was gay. That has nothing to do with
And
it.
Your Honor, they
the
said that
verbal
it
and
was-
the physical
Listen
and the
to me,
emotional
listen to me, listen
abuse
to me.
started when I was very young.
Okay. More information that I needed for this. Shh, please. More information that I needed. I see you're upset. Okay? And it's more than $200. It's, you know, the issue involves more than $200,
Yeah.
I gather.
Well, I have
To you.
papers and everything stating for the money that came out and all of that because it was from her.
I want to tell you something. I believe that you gave him $200. Thank you. Okay? I believe that you gave him $200. What I'm telling you is I don't think that this case is about $200 because I don't think that you would be here for $200.
It wasn't for me. It was for the respect out of my friend, or whatever he wants to consider her, out of my best friend, because she borrowed it, and I don't want it to come in between us because of that.
Okay. So you're really talking about Sylvia saying to you, you got to get the money back from him.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. Good, bad, I don't know. I don't have enough time to figure it out today, nor is it really any of my business. Whether he's a good father, a bad father, whether he has been verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, whether he's been supportive or non-supportive, I don't know. Bottom line is, that's your father.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is, Your Honor, I support
hey,
him no matter
quiet
what.
down, because I have a feeling, sir, growing up with you was not a picnic. If you had an alcohol problem for a period, listen to me carefully. Deny all you like. But if growing up with you at times involved living with your substance abuse problem, that's a problem. That's not
substance abuse problem. I had no substance abuse problem, Your Honor. I left my wife because my wife had left me on several occasions laying in a bed, burning.
Mr. Palmer, you are not paying attention to me, sir. What I'm saying to you is you had a substance abuse problem.
I had no substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in AA.
Test me right now and prove to me
you
that
were in
I
AA.
had. I was drinking on April 13th, 1988. I went after work. I went and had a few beers with a buddy.
Alcohol, you told me. You've been involved in AA. You've been clean and sober for 11 months. That's what you told me. Alcohol is a substance. If you abuse a substance, that's a substance abuse. That's not necessarily drugs. Alcohol is a substance.
I went to AA, Your Honor, for marijuana use, not alcohol use.
Mr. Palmer, whatever it is, sir, if you're in a state of denial, I'm not going to reach you. You have a child who's 19 years old. If during the course of her minority, you as a parent that sometimes were under the influence of either marijuana, which is a drug, or alcohol, which is also a substance, and that caused you not to be able to properly parent a child, and I'm telling you that it absolutely all the time does not enable you to properly parent a child when your brain is cloudy, then she grew up with certain amount of baggage that she didn't buy into when she was born. You have to understand that. That's a true thing.
I understand.
You may not like it, but it's a true thing. So she's got baggage. She is your child.
I am not the one being investigated for doctor shopping, for pills, because of her mother.
You're not getting it.
No, he can't.
If I'm not getting it, then award her the case because I am so used.
Then I want you to tell him, if he doesn't understand, I want you to just stand by him, and every time he opens his mouth now, because now I'm tried to get through to him, it was like getting through to this table. You don't get it.
Just award to her.
You don't get it.
I do get it.
You don't get it. She's your child.
I got shafted for 23 years. What's another day in court?
Just a second. She wasn't around for 23 years, sir. She's only been around 19.
And it's been this way my whole life.
Shh. She's only been around for 19.
Your Honor, I have traveled her all over the
I'm not
United
listening
States.
to you. You are not getting it. You are not getting it. She's the child. You're the parent.
And I was a damn good parent.
No.
Oh, I'm sure you were a wonderful parent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. You don't get it. But he's your father. He's always going to be your father. If Sylvia was a good friend to you, she would not have put you in a situation that you're in today by saying to you, you should get the money back from him. Because this is too painful. This is too painful. You should not be involved with it. You have to understand, your best friend is supposed to make things easy for you, not more difficult. Good.
That has been
Okay,
her
judgment for
biggest
the
thing.
plaintiff as pursuant to the requested judgment, which is $280, because I believe what you tell me. That's all.
Parties are
Thank
excused.
you.
You may step out. Sir, step out the back.
It's been nothing but verbal threats, him harassing her at her job.
She lied to the judge.
I don't care if I was 16 and had $5 and he asked for it, I'd give it to him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edmond versus Athanasatos. Step forward, please.
Postal worker Tracy Edmond is suing tattoo artist Alex Athanasatos for the cost of a tattoo removal. Tracy says Alex botched a tattoo of her late mother.
Bird, don't get too comfortable.
This is going to be a quick one.
Yes. Miss Edmond, according to your complaint, the defendant is a tattoo artist.
Yes.
And you went to the defendant because you recently lost your mother?
Yes.
And you wanted a picture of your mother memorialized on your body?
Yes.
Ah. A picture on your dresser wouldn't have done?
It would have.
You're unhappy with the picture that he did, and you want him to pay thousands of dollars to have the picture removed. Is that right?
Yes.
First of all, do you want to show me the tattoo? Where is it, on your arm?
Yes.
Could you step up here? Okay. And I see you've had tattoos before.
Yes.
So that's not... How many tattoos do you have altogether?
7.
7. Had you ever done work for her before?
No.
Did he come recommended to you?
Yes.
But I'm going to get to your complaint. You said everything was going fine until you saw him light up a joint and start to smoke a joint.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Did you get up and leave?
No, because it was almost half done.
Almost half done is not done. Now, according to what I read in your complaint, you said everything was going fine, right?
Yes.
And he was doing a good job, right?
Yes.
Until he started to smoke a joint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at that point, you get up and leave, and you said, listen, when you're finished, I'll come back tomorrow. Why didn't you do that?
I don't know.
If you don't know, how should I know? If somebody is doing brain surgery, and they seem to be doing okay.
How do you know?
And right in the middle of the brain surgery, they say, do me a favor, would you give me a double vodka?
I'll take one.
Quiet. Sorry. That's the time you say, listen, we'll finish this surgery another time. Or get somebody else to close me up. Or something. You don't sit there and hope for the best and then say, well, he was smoking a joint and clearly he wasn't doing the right thing, so I sat there like a jerk and let him finish, because then he wasn't doing a good job anymore, and then complain that it doesn't look like your mother. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, listen to you.
Perfect. Anything else you want to tell me?
I have nothing to say.
Good! See what I mean? Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step back. Now, this is case number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Jenkins versus Fowler.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Jenkins, the defendant is your daughter.
I gave birth to her, yes.
And the co-defendant, your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you believe that your daughter and son-in-law owe you for their share of a trip that you took to Hawaii.
Yes.
You asked your daughter to join you so that she could help you with your wheelchair and getting around, and you agreed to pay for her.
Yes, I did that.
She wanted her husband to go along. You said you couldn't pay for him.
Yes.
Or would not pay for him, and she agreed to pay for him.
Right.
So you say that they owe you some $3,000 for the trip.
Well, there was more than that. I gave her the number to my credit card that she could use over the telephone, and so she charged up a lot of things before we ever got started. Told her she could charge a car payment, utility bill, Cellular One, Geico.
So a lot of other of their personal charges that
Yes.
they placed on your credit card.
Yes.
Can I see the list of credit card charges that you think that they owe you, Ms. Jenkins?
Do you also want to see where on a different credit card I paid for everybody?
Yes. Okay, so you paid for everybody's ticket and the hotel, but that you had agreed to pay for except for his ticket.
Right, and hotel. That's $800 and some for the whole thing. It was a package deal.
$25.33.
Yes.
I'm really more concerned about this credit card, $3,670.
I'm concerned about that too.
Well, tell me what your interpretation was of the agreement that you had with your mother when you went, and the bills that you paid from her credit card.
When this came about, Miss Jenkins had said that she wanted to take a trip to Hawaii, and she was quite ill. She had emphysema, and that this might be the last chance she'd get to see Hawaii. She'd been there several times, and she knew that I had never been to Hawaii, and she also, we'd only been married a short time, and we didn't have a honeymoon, and she needed a caregiver, And my husband was a medic while he was in the service, and she felt that between the two of us, we could help her get around. But she also wanted to give it to us as a honeymoon present.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. A honeymoon present that she was paying for 2/3, we would pay 1/3.
Or why would we go?
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, and so I told her, I kept saying, no, we can't afford this. We just put a new roof on our house. We bought this older home that we were restoring. I had used both of our vacation time to go to my son's wedding in March in Kansas City. I had flown back to Maryland for my birth of my... I know, but there was no way we could afford to do this.
Okay.
I said, you know, if we're both missing a week of work, we can't pay our monthly payments. And she said, well, she had several credit cards with a zero balance, that she would be able to handle it.
As a loan or as a gift?
As a loan.
So some of your monthly expenses, in addition to 1/3 of the cost of the trip.
Right.
Okay.
Because I haven't been a part of Miss Jenkins' life, but the last 24 years, I have gotten to know my siblings, and they all told me that I needed to get everything in writing. They all warned me, or get witnesses. And in those phone calls, Miss Jenkins shared with us that...
Do you call your mother Miss Jenkins?
My mom, it is very hard, told us that it didn't matter how long it took, or how long it took, or how much we could afford per month. You know, that she really wanted to go on this trip, and she wanted to be able to experience the time. I've never been alone with my mom on a trip ever.
Why is that?
So she's never been a mother to her, Your Honor.
Well, I was 3 months old when I was sold to a family. It was considered like a black market by my biological father and mother. And
so you were raised by another family?
I was raised by another group of people that abused me for the first 18 years of my life.
And then you found your mother?
I was 29 when I made the first call on April 7th, 1978.
You have siblings?
I have 7 siblings.
All older?
2 older, and the rest are younger, and 1 sibling by my father.
So this was really the first time you were alone with your mother?
Alone without anybody except for my husband.
So you have every intention, or your intention is or was to pay back the expenses that you put on this card, your phone bill and your insurance and the other things. Okay. Did you pay back any of the money to your mother?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay back?
The total is $1,026.
Now, as far as you're concerned, does that bring you up to date with your mother, both for the expenses that you charged on a card and the third of the trip? Doesn't look
We
that
don't know
way.
how much a third of the trip was.
We have never received any documentation telling us the cost of the hotel or cost of the airplane ride, anything.
All I know is the trip to Hawaii was $25.33. 1/3 of that is $8.44.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other charges that you have on this credit card, which is what your mother gave me. Let me see if I can come up with a number.
I have letters here from both Mary Lynn and her husband that said how much they were going to pay and when they were going to pay. When she first came to Oregon, I co-signed for her to get a new car.
I'm not going, listen to me. Don't go back into ancient history. This is a very simple case, and let's not make it any more complicated, madam.
The last payments I got was for $13. That's what they're going to pay me the rest. $13 for 18 years will repay me for this loan.
How old are you, Miss Jenkins?
72.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have some, enough to keep you comfortable?
Yes.
Good. Is it important for you to have a relationship with your daughter?
Not now.
She never did before.
Just a minute. That's not her fault.
I was in the hospital when she was taken from me, and her father placed her with these people. I was in the hospital. He had deserted us. I was there for malnutrition and a kidney infection. And he brought these people to the hospital and said they wanted to adopt her. I throwed such a fit, they threw them all out. When I got out of the hospital, he had placed her with these people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told him that the used appliance man was my father. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Jenkins says her daughter, Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband, William Fowler, owe for a trip to Hawaii and for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Jenkins, I'm not placing blame.
Oh, okay.
I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying to you, it's not her fault. She was the baby. She was a baby.
That's right.
So
it also was not my fault. I tried.
Well, it's not her fault, so it has to be parents' fault because the parents are the parents. It's not her fault. All I'm saying to you is...
I was 18 years old when she was born.
All I'm saying to you is, it seems to me that it's a very sad state of affairs.
It is a sad story.
When a parent, especially with a circumstance where there has been a terrible estrangement over the years, for a couple of $1,000s, sues a child. That's something that I hate to see. If a child disappoints you by not repaying a loan, what parents usually do is say, I'm not going to give him any more money. It's a sorry state of affairs when you choose, under these circumstances, over a trip, to bring a lawsuit against your children. Now I'm going to turn to your counterclaim for a minute, which I believe you know at this point is nonsense, but I'm just going to make sure you know it's nonsense. Your counterclaim is for two things. You believe that you should be paid for caregiving services on the trip to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then a certain emotional distress. The emotional distress, I'm sure, is some of the distress that you've just told me about. Well, you don't get paid for that. And as far as the caregiving for your mom, that was the arrangement. The arrangement was you were going to take care of her there so that she could travel. There was never any discussion of compensation, so you're not entitled to create a contract afterwards. So I'm sure that, but for the fact that your mother filed this lawsuit, you would not have filed your counterclaim. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right.
Yes.
The emotional stress, though, I did have to go into therapy, which was very helpful so that I could write the letter that started this whole thing. On January 2nd, I wrote her a letter sharing with her I knew the truth and that she doesn't realize I have the paperwork where she signed me off when I was 3 months old. I have 2 valid certificates of birth with 2 different names. The people that adopted me to put me in a life of abuse. I was 18 years. That's why the $13 for 18 years, for the 18 years of hell I lived in until I could leave home. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill. And my biological father shared in the guilt. He told me he was sorry. He thought he wasn't my father. She told him that the used appliance man was my father. So that's why he left. He didn't have any need to stay around any longer.
Mrs. Fowler, it sounds to me as if you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with.
And I do, and I appreciate your allowing me to share.
I believe that you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with. So let me just make some suggestions to you.
Thank you.
You have children?
I have 3.
How old are they?
My oldest is 33. He's a president of a company. My daughter lives here in Los Angeles. I adopted her from Cambodia, and she's 41. She's married to a fireman here, and my youngest son is just 30, and he's a doctor of psychology, and he just was out of the Navy during the 9/11.
So it sounds like you have 3 lovely children.
I do,
They've done
and
okay.
grandchildren.
And how many?
3 grandchildren.
Soon
and
to be 3.
No, I have 3. 2 boys here, 1 girl in Nebraska, and 2 that are within the next week.
So it sounds like everything came together.
That's good.
Despite the pain in the beginning of your life. So well, the reason I asked you the age of your kids is because you had children when they were 18. Remember when they were 17, 18 years old?
Definitely.
Tell me about them when they were 17, 18 years old.
Hot cars and fun times, and we also went through.
But irresponsible.
They had to be respectful, you know.
But
they
irresponsible.
Yes.
Irresponsible kids.
Yes.
Kids.
Sometimes.
So because I had 18-year-olds, a whole bunch of them, and they know nothing.
Oh, about life.
So I want you to just think about your mother being 18 years old, and you were her 3rd child?
3rd child.
3rd child. So something wasn't going right in her life.
I know that.
Because she must have had first when she was 14 or 15. Right?
And I understand
So
that.
something wasn't going right there. And nobody has a crystal ball. Very often adoptions turn out beautifully. Most often they turn out beautifully. People who want to adopt a baby really want a child very desperately, and they want to give the child a home. So if that even entered the mix of 18 years old, I got 3 children, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for tomorrow's bread, at least give my child a shot at a future. The fact that it turned out badly is a sin.
It is.
But I don't think that that sin can be visited on your mother because you know what being 18 is, being 17 and 16 and 15 and...
Nor did I ever say that I knew this dramatically because I didn't want her to hurt. I have, you know, I've known for the last 29 years that I was bought. I was not ever legally adopted. There's no legal adoption papers. And I was told from birth on that I was not loved and that I was sold to them.
Then your quasi-adopted parents did a terrible thing.
They did.
And
they're gone.
And everybody's dead but me, so that's why use mother.
No, Miss Jenkins, you
I'm
have
serious.
to...
All these other people are all dead.
You have to understand that your daughter, even though she's 53 years old, has certain hurts.
I understand that.
And that
I
she's
hurt
had
too when I couldn't
no,
get my baby.
Listen to me. It's different. You're the mother. You're supposed to be the one to take care of business, even if you are 18 years old. It was your fault you got pregnant. It was your fault you had her. And she's had to deal with certain hurts her whole life. And it looks to me as if she has done a responsible turnaround, despite her unfortunate upbringing. And she's raised a family. She has a nice husband. She has nice children. And she appears to me to be a lovely lady, despite the fact that she has pain. And I think you're making a big mistake by suing her. I want to tell you that I think you're making a big mistake by suing her.
Can I say something?
Sure can.
When she first found me, she called me. I got on a plane. I went back there. I spent a month with her. And while I was there, this man came to the door. He didn't knock. He said, "Mary Lynn, I'm coming in." This is the same man she was talking about that done all these things to her. She was 28 years old then. I talked to her ex-husband that she married at 18 years old. When I talked to her husband about this, he said he didn't know anything about it, or he would not have let a child molester in his home. I asked him, how could this be? She didn't share that with her husband? She was 18 years old?
Miss Jenkins, sometimes you don't share those things with anybody.
Now she's sharing it with the whole world.
Just a second. Maybe a little therapy and maybe a little maturity allows her to do that. But I won't allow you to dismiss that, because even if over the years the facts have become blurred, your daughter felt abandoned when she found out that she was not a biological child of these people, that she had not been formally adopted. And the fact that she married somebody when she was 18 seems to suggest that there were a lot of things going on that...
And she married a man with money so that her children could go to college. I didn't do that.
Just a second. Just a second.
May I?
She has not had an irresponsible life. I think you're making a mistake by suing her, but there it looks to me, look, folks, I see that I'm not going to repair this, Miss Fowler.
Can I add,
Sure.
add something? I've been silent. Yes, I've been silent. My ex-husband did not know about my abuse because I felt like I would have been dirty to him. The reason why the child molester came in my home was because he was at my grandmother's house. My biological mother was there. He came in because he wanted to renew old friendships with her. He was
That's
in and
a lie,
out.
Mary
He was
Lynn.
in and out of our home for the first 3 years of my life. He would come over and drop me off. She would babysit for me while they went out and partied. And you tell them that's not a lie?
Are you telling me that you knew your mother?
My mother babysat for me till I was 3 years old.
In these other people's homes?
In her own home. They brought me to her
my
house.
home.
So at 3 months old, you were given to another couple.
Right.
But they allowed your mother to babysit for you until you were 3
years old.
Miss Fowler.
Thank you. I'm
Do you
sorry.
have a nice husband?
I have a wonderful husband.
You have 3 children?
Yes.
You're going to have some new grandchildren?
Yes.
Sounds to me as if everything is okay.
It is.
And you're trying to find a
Some
comfortable
closure.
path. A comfortable path for yourself. I don't think your mom's going to get there. She's not going to get there. And whether or not you can mend it, I don't know. And I don't even know whether it should be that important to you anymore. You know, you want it to be important, but I don't know if it
Everybody
can be.
wants a mom.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be. So it seems to me as if you have somebody lovely to rely on, and you have a lovely family, and maybe it's just time to put that period. So, Ms. Jenkins, I've gone over some brief figures. You're suing your daughter and your son-in-law for $3,048.38. I find that they owe you $760 on the bills, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $760. And if you want to cancel it, you can. That's all.
I want to
That's
cancel
up to you.
it. I want to cancel it.
Well, you want to cancel the debt? No, that's
No,
important.
I want to
You want to
cancel
cancel
this
the
court.
debt?
I want to cancel
Do you want to
this court.
cancel the debt?
No, I want the
wanna-
money I need to pay the credit card off.
$760 then is what you get, period.
I hope you enjoy it, Mary
Parties
Ann.
are excused. You may step out.
হ্যালো বন্ধুরা, সবাই কেমন আছো? আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছো। আজকে তোমাদের সামনে আমি ছবিটি রং করে দেখাবো। ভিডিওটি না টেনে সম্পূর্ণ দেখবে। আমাদের ছবিটি রং করা সম্পূর্ণ হলো।